We open on a ruined city, where a busted traffic light flickers between stop and go, a grim sign of a world long past its prime. A cleanup crew is mopping up, with one of the grunts reporting to his team leader that he's just finished off the last monster. Their leader, a cold-eyed man with an eye patch named Li Kuei, doesn't waste a breath and orders his men to burn all 7 bodies. Another member of the crew scoffs, finding it hard to believe these grotesque creatures were ever actually human. He watches a teammate unleash a torrent of fire, arrogantly boasting that mindless beasts are nothing compared to ability users like them. But this wasn't just a pest control mission. He smirks at a nearby cage, saying they should thank the monsters for this little opportunity. Inside, a group of terrified and shackled youths are revealed the high-quality goods these guys were really after. As a strange, blood-red rain starts to fall, the slaver gets antsy, telling his crew to load up since someone named Yehu is waiting. He's suddenly hit with a wave of déjà vu, realizing this unsettling rain feels just like the one from 12 years ago. And just like that, we're thrown into a flashback to Star Era 1034, the year a series of cataclysms reshaped the entire world. This blood-red rain drenched the entire world, marking the beginning of the end. It poured for a whole year, transforming most of humanity into man-eating monsters known as predators. This apocalyptic event went down in history as the Red Rain Calamity. But from the ashes, a new breed of human emerged, ability users, with 5 different types of extraordinary powers. After a brutal 10-year war, these users established 7 fortified cities, leaving the rest of the world as a desolate wasteland. Back in the present, one of the slavers pokes at a dead predator's corpse. A subordinate reports to his team leader that they've finished clearing out the latest batch of monsters. But Li Kuei is on edge. He notes that 4 waves of predators in just 2 hours is way too unusual, and the boss monster is nowhere to be found. Another slaver grumbles that these are just trash-tier creatures without crystal cores, making them worthless loot. Li Kuei shuts them down, warning them to focus because this batch of goods is for a powerful lord, and failure means they're all dead. Another slaver tells Li Kuei to chill out, boasting that he'll be the one guarding the goods. Li Kuei glances at the cage, noticing some of the captives have passed out from sheer terror. The trash-tier slaver gets way too close, complaining that if the boss didn't want them, he'd have his fun. But as he's fantasizing, a strange liquid drips onto his hand from above. He looks up, completely clueless as to what's going on. A horrifying monster, the real boss of this area, looms over him, ready to devour him whole. The other slavers are dumbfounded. Someone screams that it's a rank 4 mutant they stand no chance against. The purple-haired slaver knows his C-rank ability is useless, but he attacks anyway to buy some time. His energy blast hits the creature, which is known to have both intelligence and regeneration. With their formations shattered, the slavers break and run for their lives in total chaos. But in a shocking twist, one of the slavers betrays his own, raising an earth wall to trap his comrades with the beast. The traitor screams a fake apology, promising to find the boss and get help while leaving his team leader to die. He thinks he's a genius, convinced the C-rank leader and the others can buy him just enough time to escape. But his escape route leads him right into a nest of horrifying, ghost-like women who immediately swarm him. A massive, spectral face looms over our cowardly slaver, mocking his greed as he freezes in pure terror. He's completely helpless, as their cold, dead hands grab him from all sides, pulling him into the shadows. One of the ghouls puts a finger to its lips, silencing his pathetic screams with a single, terrifying gesture. They drag him into the darkness, performing some kind of twisted ritual as he's enveloped by their shadows. Turns out, his betrayal didn't save him. It just earned him a different, more personal kind of hell. Meanwhile, back at the wall, his former comrades are being torn to shreds by a sea of tendrils and eyes, their pleas for mercy completely ignored. The illusionary beast laughs maniacally as it wraps its tendrils around one of the screaming slavers. It relishes the taste of his despair and regret, finding the cocktail of emotions absolutely delicious. But with a snap of his fingers, our boy Yehu appears, declaring that the show is officially over. He casually strolls past the terrified survivors, sarcastically calling their pathetic downfall a marvelous show. Grabbing Li Kuei by the throat, he coldly asks how it feels to watch all his men get wiped out. Another slaver spits defiance, calling Yehu a lunatic and swearing he'll never betray his lord. Yehu just scoffs, completely unimpressed by this trash-tier display of loyalty. Since the slaver won't talk, he calmly decides he'll just have to look for the information himself. He pulls out a scalpel, and the slaver's tough guy facade instantly melts into pure panic. Yehu brings the blade to the man's lips, pondering just where he should begin his gruesome work. He brings the scalpel right up to the slaver's eye, calmly deciding where to make the first cut. After a moment, Yehu decides physical torture is too simple and that this will do the trick. He mockingly offers to flatten the man's bulging forehead as energy needles pierce his skull. The slaver's mind shatters, his face contorting into a mask of pure, unadulterated agony. As the man begs for death, Yehu just tells him to hold still while he sifts through his useless memories. His power dives deep into the slaver's mind, the scalpel acting as a conduit for the psychic intrusion. Yehu's cybernetic eye glows intensely as he hunts for the specific piece of intel he needs. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he finally locks onto the target memory. With a final, brutal pull, he activates his memory retrieval and rips the information from the man's very soul. The job is done. He now knows their base is at a crude oil facility in Country R. With the intel secured, the scene cuts to another monster entirely, a man who finds a strange nostalgia in the art of slaughter. We're taken to a rundown apartment building, the kind of place where screams go unheard. Inside, this new psycho, Ji Chuan, is in his workshop, calmly placing a blood-soaked axe back on its rack. He gets to work, the sound of a drill piercing flesh and bone echoing through the room. His eyes burn with a chilling intensity, completely absorbed in his gruesome craft. With the precision of a master chef, he uses a hatchet to prepare the ingredients in a bowl. He picks up a power drill, another one of his specialized kitchen utensils, ready for the next step. Looking down at his victim, he calmly tells them to just bear with it a little longer. His strange, golden eye gleams with excitement as he explains that patience is key to achieving the peak of deliciousness. He takes a deep breath, savoring the aroma of his bloody creation, and declares that it smells absolutely perfect. And for the final touch on his masterpiece, a 3-minute soft-boiled egg, drizzled with that perfect soup. He sits back, admiring his creation, declaring it to be the perfect meal. As he eats, he makes a mental note to freeze some of the tomatoes, since ingredients this good are hard to come by. Suddenly, his eyes narrow as a memory surfaces. He glances at a framed photo, recalling that the recipe for this special sauce was taught to him by someone from his past. The photo is a souvenir from the Angel Orphanage, a seemingly happy group portrait from years ago. But that happy memory is instantly shattered, replaced by the gruesome reality of what happened, a complete bloodbath. A mysterious voice recalls the incident, noting that of all the kids, only the one from the G family survived, the one he always thought had the most talent. This man found the lone survivor, a brave but broken child, and offered him a new path. The young boy, desperate for validation, asked if killing them was wrong, only for the man to reassure him that what he did was absolutely right. Clutching his teddy bear, the young boy desperately asks if this man will truly take him away from the carnage. The mysterious mentor smirks, promising to do so, claiming our boy will become his greatest work of art. But this wasn't salvation. It was the start of a new hell, filled with agonizing experiments and endless pain. From his console, the mentor coldly lists the cocktail of experimental drugs being injected into the child. He then orders the voltage cranked up by a factor of 20, pushing the boy's body to its absolute breaking point. The memory hits so hard that back in the present, Ji Chuan's hand trembles, his fork scraping the plate. His eyes narrow, the darkness of his past threatening to swallow him whole once again. He remembers the fire, the screams, and the moment he was reborn from the ashes of the orphanage. It was in that crucible of pain and loss that his unique golden eye first awakened. Snapping back to the present, that same eye flares with power as he realizes an intruder has finally shown up. Meanwhile, in a dark room, another man with a vendetta whispers that their reunion is finally at hand. His target is plastered all over a conspiracy board. The president, connected to a web of incidents. The scene shifts to the gleaming metropolis of Yahello City, the largest sanctuary for normal humans. It's a place that promises safety and a future, a stark contrast to the hellish world outside. Here, we find a familiar face, as a young girl runs up to a man she calls Brother Xiaoji. Her name is Xiao Yuan, and she's here to thank him with a rice bowl for giving her mom life-saving medicine. He gently tries to refuse, telling her to keep it for herself, but she's adamant about repaying his kindness. Seeing her earnest determination, he can't bring himself to say no and accepts the small gift. As he takes a bite, the girl watches him with hopeful eyes, waiting for his reaction. A genuine smile spreads across his face as he tells her it's delicious. A rare moment of peace for our boy, Ji Chuan. With his business done, Ji Chuan tells the little girl he's heading off to work now. Xiao Yuan waves an enthusiastic goodbye, a small beacon of light in his dark world. But that moment is shattered as we see our boy is being tailed. An agent reports the target is heading for the bus stop. Turns out, it's a full-blown surveillance team, with ground personnel ready to follow his every move. As Ji Chuan gets on the bus, the agents pile in right behind him, thinking they've got him boxed in. The bus's destination is announced as the Ability Management Center, and the agents feel confident they know his plan. A moment later, however, the agent on board is dumbfounded. The target has completely vanished from the crowded bus. High above the city, their team leader gets the bad news but just smirks, telling his men to retreat since the game is over. Their destination was the Ability Management Center, a high-security building that registers all ability users in the region. And it seems our boy didn't need to sneak in, as he casually strolls up and gets his access card authenticated without a hitch. Inside, our boy is playing the part of a regular office worker, as a colleague chides him for being late. Ji Yuchuan smoothly apologizes, claiming he took the wrong bus after dealing with a few flies this morning. Another colleague wonders why he's doing grunt work for the expatriate team, which is basically the agency's cleanup crew. The older woman is just glad he's not on a mission, gossiping about 5 ability users who were brutally murdered at a local factory. Ji Yuchuan feigns ignorance, asking if a high-level predator could be the culprit, but she says the higher-ups are clueless. Just as she warns him to be careful, an agent bursts in, yelling that the director needs to see Ji Yuchuan immediately. Waving a casual goodbye to his coworkers, our boy grabs his jacket and follows the urgent summons. Hez led straight to the imposing door of the director's office, clearly about to walk into something serious. Inside, the director informs him that he's been called in to meet someone important, and it's a sharp-looking woman who already knows his reputation, asking if he's the expatriate team member with a 100% success rate. The director introduces the woman as Lu Yao, his new immediate superior from Santenberg City, and suggests they exchange contacts, but she slams her hand on the desk, telling him there's no rush for such pleasantries. Instead, she slides a set of photos forward, demanding their outstanding employee give his expert opinion. Our boy just gives a cool, collected look, completely unfazed by the sudden test. The photos show the very slavers he just killed, but he calmly begins his analysis, noting they've been dead for over 3 days. He continues his act, pointing out signs of torture and suggesting the killer must have held a deep personal grudge. To cap it off, he recommends they investigate the victims' personal lives, claiming it's likely a simple case of revenge. Lu Yao, however, isn't buying it for a second, revealing one victim was a cunning C-rank user who always evaded capture. Ji Yuchuan plays dumb, agreeing the killer is a meticulous psycho before eagerly offering to hunt him down if she'll just trust him. She looks him dead in the eye, pointing out it would take a B-ranker to do this, and asks why a simple office worker like him isn't afraid. Without missing a beat, our boy plants his feet, ready to deliver the performance of a lifetime. He declares that his life is forfeit for the Alliance, putting on a grand show of patriotism to throw her off his trail. Lu Yao isn't impressed, coldly stating that a specialized team from the higher-ups is already handling the case. She tells him he's a rare talent, but makes it crystal clear she'll be keeping a very close eye on him from now on. Ji Yuchuan just plays the part of a grateful subordinate, thanking her for the appreciation while knowing he's now a marked man. The scene shifts to the neon-drenched streets of Rose City, the largest free trade zone in the region. We meet a new face, a naive-looking tourist asking a street vendor about the quality of his melons. The young man seems completely out of his element, a fish out of water in this sprawling metropolis. He spots a train leaving late at night and asks the vendor about it, worried about potential predator attacks. The tourist is absolutely floored when he hears the 20,000 star coin price, exclaiming that it's highway robbery. The vendor scoffs, explaining the price is a bargain since the train is guarded by 12 A-rank ability users. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure, Yehu, boards the so-called Black Rose train, finding the car eerily empty. With a flick of his scalpel and a flash of red energy, he effortlessly picks the lock to a private compartment. The door slides open, revealing his sinister grin. This guy is clearly here for business, not sightseeing. He spots an attendant with a food cart and smoothly asks if the meals are ready yet. The woman turns her back to him, and the entire atmosphere in the train car suddenly feels heavy and wrong. In a horrifying twist, her body begins to contort and break, transforming into something monstrous. With glowing red eyes and razor-sharp claws, the creature lunges, screaming that the meal is indeed ready. But before she can even blink, Yehu has already moved, her head flying clean off her shoulders. He coolly looks up from the corpse, sarcastically asking if this is the standard welcome aboard the Black Rose. A system notification chimes in, confirming the monster's identity has been successfully verified. But even in death, the head gurgles out a message, inviting the honorable guest on behalf of its host. Completely unfazed, our boy simply crushes the talking head under his boot with a sickening squelch. The monster's blood then pools and twists into a swirling crimson gateway right in the middle of the train car. He steps through into the infamous Black Rose Market, a lavish, hidden dimension where anything can be bought for the right price. This place is shrouded in a powerful mental energy that hides everyone's faces, but for a guy like him, seeing through it is trivial. Taking a seat, he immediately gets to business, pulling up a holographic interface to find what he's looking for. Turns out, just searching for a single address costs a whopping 200,000 star coins, a truly black market price. Before he can proceed, another faceless waitress approaches, presenting him with a complimentary meal. The dish is a disgusting platter of raw meat garnished with a human eyeball, and he can't help but feel utterly repulsed. With his special eye glowing, Yehu calmly pokes at the grotesque meal, not even flinching at the sight. The information he paid for materializes on the plate itself, pointing him towards a shadowless church that's been acting strange. Our boy can't help but smirk at the irony of a so-called church being built on top of a grimy old industrial base. The next day, he arrives at the location, which turns out to be a massive, surprisingly beautiful cathedral. Inside, the place is packed with believers fervently praying for guidance and the erasure of their sins in this chaotic world. These hooded followers are all drinking some strange liquid from bowls as part of their twisted ritual. Suddenly, a figure with a skeletal face appears at the altar, ecstatically announcing that the ceremony has begun. This cult leader then summons his holy children, a line of nuns who walk forward with an unnerving calmness. Turns out, these nuns are all holding daggers, ready to dedicate their very lives to their so-called Lord. As the leader preaches about being humble and pure, his followers drink their concoction, completely lost in the brainwashing. The leader preaches that the ideal sacrifices must be zealous and fervent in their faith. With twisted smiles, the nuns seem completely lost in the moment, ready for what's to come. They genuinely believe that being chosen by their Lord for this ritual is the greatest honor imaginable. As the next step of the ceremony, they begin walking into a glowing pool of water. He commands them to dedicate themselves, promising their Lord will remember their sacrifice. The nuns sink beneath the surface, their creepy, ecstatic smiles plastered on their faces until the very end. Seeing this, the other followers erupt in cheers, screaming that their Lord has finally manifested. The pool begins to bubble and glow, signaling the completion of the twisted sacrifice. The cult leader then announces that the holy virgins have successfully ascended to a painless kingdom. On a massive screen above, the followers watch the miracle, convinced their God is now watching over them. The cult leader roars that their devotion has moved their Lord, pointing to a serene image of a blonde woman. He then presents the Lord's blessing, a liquid that will make them loyal servants, as the nuns behind him cry tears of blood. The other followers, completely brainwashed, hold up their bowls, screaming for the blessing and boasting about sacrificing their own families. They erupt in a frenzy, believing they've finally been acknowledged by their God. A single drop of the crimson blessing falls into one of the bowls. Suddenly, a voice echoes in one follower's mind, telling him it can see the endless darkness in his heart. But the voice offers a twisted chance at redemption, a single hand reaching out from the void. It promises that the Lord is merciful, as ethereal hands gently rest on his shoulders. The illusion deepens, surrounding him with beautiful women who urge him to drink and join them in a world without pain. But our boy isn't buying it, his sharp eyes questioning this so-called new world. He sees the illusion for the beautiful lie it is, and decides it's time for everyone to wake up, shattering the bowl. The illusion shatters, revealing our boy standing amidst the stunned cultists, his golden power flaring to life. The cult leader is dumbfounded, reeling from the sudden and powerful psychic fluctuation. His shock turns to disbelief, as he recognizes the face under the hood, wondering how he could still be alive. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, mockingly surprised that the leader still remembers him after 16 long years. But the leader sneers back, saying he could never forget the child that left the deepest impression on him. A flashback reveals why. A young Ji Yuchuan, covered in blood, looking like a literal demon child. Enraged, the cult leader points and commands his followers to punish the blasphemer for desecrating their Lord. The brainwashed followers, completely lost in their fanaticism, charge forward to attack. But Ji Yuchuan is unfazed, his golden eye glowing as he prepares to activate his real power. He unleashes his true power, Dreamweaver, instantly ensnaring the charging cultists in a web of psychic energy. Even the cult leader is impressed, sarcastically complimenting the spectacular performance. But he scoffs, calling his own followers useless trash before unleashing his own terrifying blue energy. The cultists scream in agony as the leader's power courses through them, overriding our boy's control. Turns out, the leader is just a sick puppeteer, forcibly twisting his own men into something monstrous. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, noting that his old mentor still treats people like disposable tools. The leader grins like a madman, calling it a shame that all his other experiments were flawed. He reveals that whether it was the lab rats or these fools, none could compare to his masterpiece. As the followers melt into a grotesque flesh abomination, he declares that Ji Yuchuan was the most perfect tool he ever created. This twisted praise finally gets under our boy's skin, and he grits his teeth, admitting the leader really knows how to piss him off. The followers fully merge into a grotesque, multi-limbed abomination that towers over our boy. But Ji Yuchuan doesn't even flinch, a fresh cut on his cheek as he stares down the beast. The creature's massive hand descends, only to be impaled by countless unseen needles before it can land. Turns out, those were his signature red threads, shredding the monster's flesh with absolute ease. The cult leader just laughs, mockingly asking our boy if he likes his latest creation. He smugly declares that once an enemy makes a move, they're destined to become a corpse. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, his golden eye flaring as he admits this whole situation is kinda interesting. Seeing his power, the leader offers him a chance to return to his side and rectify his mistake. But our boy flatly refuses, saying he has zero interest in becoming a monster, especially not an ugly one. Completely enraged by the rejection, the leader screams for him to meet his end. The leader declares that a disobedient tool has no reason to exist as the flesh abomination is shredded by the red threads. He screams at our boy to just disappear already, his patience completely gone. Another grotesque monster lunges forward, trying to grab Ji Yuchuan as he calmly walks away. But our boy is too quick, effortlessly flipping through the air to dodge the clumsy attack. With his golden eye flaring, he unleashes a barrage of needle-like projectiles. The cult leader just scoffs, easily erecting a blue energy barrier to block the incoming assault. He smugly advises Ji Yuchuan not to waste his energy on such a meaningless attack. Our boy just gives him a knowing smirk, asking if he's really so sure about that. Turns out, he was never aiming for the leader. The real target was the strange framed woman behind him. The leader watches in horror as his puppet begins to swell and overload with chaotic energy. The cult leader desperately tries to contain the energy, realizing he's been completely outplayed. With a deafening roar, the framed puppet detonates, engulfing the entire area in a massive explosion. A new, calm voice echoes through the chaos, complimenting his most outstanding student. As the smoke clears, our boy is already standing before the true mastermind, having pinpointed his hidden location. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, taunting the man for always preferring to hide in the shadows like a rat. The real villain is revealed, an old man with a cane, whom Ji Yuchuan chillingly addresses as Dean. The burnt and furious cult leader screams at Ji Yuchuan for disrespecting his master and summons his ultimate trump card. A horrifying, multi-headed ghoul materializes, but it seems confused, looking past the cult leader to the dean. The ghoul completely ignores its summoner's command, grabbing the cult leader as he begs his master for help. But the dean just watches coldly as his pawn is crushed, remarking that only the weak plead for their lives. With the trash taken out, the dean smirks, declaring that now they can finally have their little reunion without interruptions. He challenges our boy, eager to see how much his perfect creation has grown since they last met. Ji Yuchuan's golden eye flares with power as he accepts, ready to give his old master exactly what he's asking for. Without a moment's hesitation, he launches himself at the grotesque ghoul, a blur of motion and raw power. He lands a devastating blow right on the monster's chest, the impact echoing through the chamber. But as he lands, Ji Yuchuan is dumbfounded. His psychic abilities had absolutely no effect on the creature. The dean just chuckles, explaining that this puppet was specifically designed to suppress psychic powers, making brute force a fool's game. Suddenly, golden threads erupt and bind Ji Yuchuan, but our boy just scoffs at the trap, calling it quite an honor. He realizes that while he can't attack the monster directly, he can still use his powers on the environment around it. The dean's smug expression twists into a scowl, annoyed that his former student is still acting tough instead of begging for mercy. With a roar, he unleashes his power, causing the very ground beneath the monster to erupt in a blast of energy. A massive pillar of psychic force slams into the ghoul from below, sending it reeling back in agony. The monster retaliates with a psychic blast of its own, but Ji Yuchuan just slides back, effortlessly deflecting it with a golden shield. He coughs up blood, and the dean sneers that the damage feedback is hurting him far more than his precious puppet. Seeing his student weakened, the dean gives him one last chance to kneel and come back to his side. But our boy just smirks through the blood, thanking him for the offer and reminding him of a certain lesson he once taught. The dean looks on, confused, as golden threads begin to manifest all around him. He taught him to always lure the prey into a trap, and the dean's eyes widen in sheer horror as he realizes he's the prey. Ji Yuchuan finishes the lesson, and then crush them in an instant, as the golden threads violently constrict the ghoul. The dean is dumbfounded, screaming about how the puppet strings should be damaging Ji Yuchuan too, only for our boy to hold up the dean's severed blue threads. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, asking his old master if his memory is failing, reminding him that he was the one who cut the strings. The dean's blood runs cold as he realizes our boy used the psychic blast earlier as a distraction to sever the connection. With the trap sprung, the golden threads bite deep, shredding the ghoul as it screams in absolute agony. The monster is completely obliterated in a massive explosion, its very existence wiped from the board. The dean barely manages to shield himself from the blast, muttering that he was prepared for such a desperate move. But the feedback from his puppet's destruction is too much, and he collapses to his knees, coughing up blood. Even so, the old man forces a grin, praising Ji Yuchuan for becoming an A-class psychic, his masterpiece. Our boy just scoffs at the word, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated contempt. He answers not with words, but by slamming his boot down, pinning his former mentor's face to the floor. Looming over him, Ji Yuchuan declares that after 16 years, it's finally time to settle the score for his parents' deaths. Pinned to the floor, the dean desperately spills a secret. It was a Lord Xianmian who ordered his parents' death because they knew too much. Ji Yuchuan's mind races, his golden eye glowing as he demands to know who this new player is and what secret cost his family everything. But the old man just smirks, dark energy crackling around him as he mocks our boy's predictable thirst for answers. He sneers that those are questions Ji Yuchuan will have to ask the Grim Reaper himself. Suddenly, a massive ritual circle, Hell's Gate, erupts, a forbidden art that uses a sacrifice to summon a demon. From the swirling vortex, a colossal, terrifying dragon of pure shadow emerges, its eyes glowing with malice. The dean, thinking he has the upper hand, screams at his new pet to kill Ji Yuchuan and end this. But our boy doesn't even flinch, casually stepping aside as if the beast isn't even a threat to him. The dragon looms over its own master, and the dean's face twists in horror as he realizes the contract was for him all along. With a final, blood-curdling scream, the mastermind is devoured, a fitting end for a man who played with monsters. As the dean bleeds out, Ji Yuchuan coldly wishes upon him the same pain his parents suffered. The old man is completely dumbfounded, unable to comprehend how a demon he personally summoned could have betrayed him. Our boy just smirks, his golden eye flaring to life, as he reveals he activated his construction ability the second they met. Turns out, the entire dragon summoning was just an elaborate performance, a psychic prediction of the dean's own fate. Ji Yuchuan offers him a final deal, name the true murderer, and he might just grant him a peaceful end. The dean just coughs up blood, begrudgingly admitting that our boy is far more exceptional than he ever anticipated. But with his last breath, he declares he could never betray his true master, who will surely come to avenge him. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears from the shadows, wrapping glowing blue threads around the dean's neck to silence him permanently. Ji Yuchuan is stunned as the dean's head is sliced clean off, his plan completely derailed by this newcomer. And to his shock, the killer is none other than the cult leader, wielding the exact same Dreamweaver power. The cult leader wastes no time, unleashing a horrifyingly complex ritual that blankets the entire church in malevolent purple energy. From the depths of the spell, two monstrous, chained hellhounds begin to materialize, snarling with otherworldly rage. The ritual even conjures the ghostly head of the recently deceased dean, a twisted mockery of our boy's failed interrogation. It's a full-blown sacrificial ceremony, with a terrified woman suspended in chains above a pit of skulls, as two massive winged demons stand guard. Ji Yuchuan's psychic senses are screaming at him, every fiber of his being telling him to run from this overwhelming power. Meanwhile, outside, the authorities have cordoned off the area, with a news reporter calling the supernatural event a simple corrosive fog. But running is for cowards. Our boy dives straight into the fray, his golden threads lashing out to intercept the demonic beasts. He expertly wraps his threads around one of the winged demons, using its own momentum to slam it violently into a stone pillar. The beast finds itself completely bound, a testament to the sheer strength and control Ji Yuchuan has over his power. With the big threats neutralized, he turns his threads into a devastating whip, clearing out the trash-tier cult followers on the ground in one clean sweep. Suddenly, a new player enters the game, a demon queen named Chelsea, sitting on a throne of skulls, who declares it an honor for anyone to serve her. But our boy isn't fazed, telling the worried voices in his head to shut it because he's got a plan. He knows his construction ability is a ticking clock. It weakens him over time, so he has to end this fight, and fast. Just as he thinks that, a fresh wave of winged demons descends upon him, ready to tear him apart. With a flash of power, a massive explosion rocks the cathedral, but it's not what it seems. The demon queen, Chelsea, just scoffs, completely unimpressed by the display. But then her eyes narrow, she senses that something is fundamentally wrong with the situation. Turns out, our boy didn't destroy her minions. He hijacked them, calmly standing among the now tamed beasts and mocking her. Chelsea is absolutely livid, demanding to know what this lowly human has done to her precious minions. With a smirk, Ji Yuchuan reveals the ultimate power move. He just made a minor adjustment to her psychic control. He mocks the demon queen, asking what happened to her bossy tone now that her puppets are his. Chelsea is so furious she cracks the cathedral floor with a single stomp, refusing to be mocked by a human. Her entire aura screams unforgivable as she glares down, surrounded by the remnants of her power. Wasting no time, our boy turns her own minions against her, ordering them to keep their former master company. But Chelsea just scoffs, wondering if he really thinks these trash-tier summons can actually pose a threat to her. She proves her point instantly, obliterating one of the demons with a casual flick of her energy tendril. Seeing his chance, Ji Yuchuan makes a run for it while his new pets serve as a bloody distraction. Suddenly, a flash of red light catches his eye as a massive energy blast comes screaming toward him. There is no way Chelsea is letting him escape. She unleashes her full power to stop him in his tracks. The attack slams into his back with devastating force, a magical seal flaring up at the point of impact. The blast sends a shockwave through his system, but the real damage isn't physical. Outside, a hazmat team sees the energy spike and wonders if a new powerful predator has just appeared. Our boy collapses, his head splitting apart as a foreign power tries to hijack his body. He screams for the entity to get out, but a sinister voice just coaxes him to surrender his consciousness. Hearing the breach team outside, a dangerous idea sparks in his mind. He threatens the parasite. Either it backs off, or he'll let these humans tear their shared body to shreds. The hazmat crew storms the hall, ready to face down a monster of untold power. But what they find inside leaves them utterly speechless. The floor is littered with the corpses of demons, a scene of total carnage they can't make sense of. Ji Yuchuan, now back in control, calmly orders the team to secure the area and collect the bodies for research. Meanwhile, in the neon-drenched Santenberg city, a new player enters the game. A mysterious man holds a glowing core, musing that after a long wait, Chelsea has finally shown herself. He smirks, telling his subordinate that a banished demon queen stands no chance and orders her to be eliminated. Elsewhere, our boy Ji Yuchuan finds himself in the ruins on the outskirts of the city. Having cleared out any nearby threats, he decides to hunker down for the night by a fire. He knows he has to be cautious, as the side effects of his construction are about to kick in. As night falls, he settles down inside an abandoned building for some much-needed rest. He finally drifts off to sleep, but a sinister purple energy begins to envelop him. Turns out, even his mind isn't a safe place to hide. The demon queen Chelsea appears in his dream, whispering that he is now her slave, ready to be ensnared. But instead of a demonic dreamscape, Ji Yuchuan is thrown back into a memory, a car ride from a lifetime ago. His father, a workaholic, is on the phone while his mother gently reminds him they promised their son a day off. The man quickly apologizes, promising young Ji Yuchuan they'll do whatever he wants at the amusement park. For a brief moment, our boy is just a kid, beaming with pure, unadulterated joy. But as he and his mother look out the window, a sense of dread begins to creep in. A massive flock of crows suddenly swarms the sky, a terrible omen that his mother can't help but notice. Just then, a sharp pain hits young Ji Yuchuan, and he collapses into his mother's arms, who asks in a panic what's wrong. She alerts her husband that their son is sick, and he turns, suggesting they rush to a hospital, completely oblivious to the danger ahead. In the next instant, a massive truck smashes into their car, shattering glass, metal, and their entire world. All that's left is the flashing red light of an emergency vehicle, a silent testament to the tragedy that just unfolded. Amidst the carnage, firefighters pull a small body from the wreckage, shouting that the child is somehow still alive. As young Ji Yuchuan cries for his lost parents, a mysterious man in a coat watches him from the shadows. But this is all just a memory, a dream that's collapsing as a voice urges our boy to wake up. His entire tragic life flashes before his eyes, from his parents' love to the bloody accident and his forced recruitment. Ji Yuchuan accepts the inevitable, thinking to himself that all dreams, even good ones, must eventually end. The dream shatters, revealing a horned demoness holding him, taunting that she'll destroy his mind as a final mercy. But her attack suddenly fails as golden threads of power erupt from our boy, shattering her purple energy. With his golden eye blazing, Ji Yuchuan flips the script, coolly informing her that mental invasion is his specialty. The demoness is dumbfounded. Her enchantment was meant to control him, but his mental fortitude is off the charts. Now in complete control, he thanks her for the beautiful dream and promises to grant her a swift and painful end. With his golden eye glowing, Ji Yuchuan calmly prepares a scalpel as the demoness starts to cry. Chelsea begs for her life, claiming it was hard to get here and that she's just a poor little demon. But our boy isn't buying it, reminding her of her boastful title and her sudden offer to do anything for him. Her act shatters instantly as she seethes with rage, promising to tear him apart once she recovers her power. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, telling her that her acting is absolutely terrible. Calling her a waste of a beautiful body, he unleashes a crimson thread of energy right at her. She looks on in pure shock, realizing she's completely at his mercy. But just then, a massive burst of energy erupts from her, sending her flying back. The shockwave tears through the street, obliterating everything in a storm of red energy. In an instant, Ji Yuchuan is on his knees, utterly defeated, as a towering figure calls him a mere ant. Turns out, that horn was the source of her power, and she is absolutely livid that he dared to touch it. She roars that he'll become a burial companion for her horn, but our boy just stares her down. A shockwave sends him flying, and he wryly thinks to himself that he's really ticked her off this time. But a sudden realization hits him. The Dean's puppet strings could reflect psychic attacks, and she's cut from the same cloth. As she dives in for the kill, Ji Yuquan calmly prepares his counter, his golden eye flaring to life. He knows this is his one and only chance to turn the tables. With a massive burst of golden energy, he unleashes his own attack, meeting her head-on. The Demon Queen lands gracefully, the dust settling around her. She admits he's skilled, but internally panics, knowing her power boost is temporary, and she needs a human contractor to survive. Ji Yuquan smirks, telling her that since she refuses to be his slave, he'll just have to force her hand. The Demon Queen decides if she can't enslave him, she'll just devour his powerful soul for nourishment. She focuses her remaining energy, a demonic script glowing on her forehead as she prepares her final gambit. But their powers collide in a cataclysmic explosion that rips through the street, sending cars flying like toys. As the dust settles, a mysterious cloaked figure appears over the weakened Chelsea, asking if she really made him come all this way to find her. Without waiting for an answer, he blasts her effortlessly, sending her tumbling across the broken pavement. He reveals his face, a smug demon who mocks her for falling so far from her former glory as the top-ranked demon in hell. Calling her a pitiful sight, he summons a wicked energy tendril to finish the job. But just as he strikes, he realizes his attack hit nothing but air. Dumbfounded, he scans the empty, smoke-filled crater, wondering how she could have possibly vanished. Suddenly, he's impaled from behind by a massive, barbed appendage, paying the price for his arrogance. The green-haired demon is stunned to see his attack was just deflected by a new player on the field. Turns out, our boy Ji Yuquan just saved Chelsea, and he mocks the demon for being too bold to attack a mental illusion. He internally reveals that a side effect of bloodburst has him stuck in a human body, and he's lucky this fool didn't kill his host. Ji Yuquan swings his weapon, grumbling that if this body wasn't so trashed here, the fight would already be over. But the demon grabs the weapon, absolutely seething at being talked down to like that. He roars in fury, questioning how an exiled demon like Chelsea dares to look down on him. Powering up with crackling green energy, he lunges forward to end Chelsea once and for all. But his punch is stopped dead in its tracks by a strange golden web of energy. Ji Yuquan effortlessly redirects the demon's attack, sending him spinning away. The demon is dumbfounded, but suddenly Ji Yuquan clutches his head, screaming that it feels like it's about to explode. It's an all-out war inside his head, with Ji Yuquan screaming for Chelsea to get out of his body. The demon sees this internal struggle as the perfect opening, and lunges forward to strike a fatal blow. But his fist is stopped dead by a hand that's suddenly encased in solid ice, much to his shock. A new, arrogant personality surfaces, smirking as he calls the demon trash for failing to win even when he was handicapped. With a crushing grip, he completely overpowers the demon's arm. The demon is left utterly speechless as he's pulled into a bizarre, almost intimate hold. The two personalities then start arguing with each other, each blaming the other for hindering the fight. Their opponent can only stare in disbelief, thinking this whole situation is beyond ridiculous. As the demon attacks again in a rage, Chelsea warns Ji Yuquan that they must cooperate or they'll both perish. Deep inside their mindscape, it's revealed Chelsea has our boy bound in chains, telling the lowly human to know his place. Ji Yuquan reluctantly agrees to a truce, deciding to borrow Chelsea's power to deal with the demon first. The green-haired demon is dumbfounded, demanding to know what kind of trick our boy is pulling now. With a wicked grin, Ji Yuquan decides to see just how good he is at using this borrowed power, summoning a storm of chains. The demon is instantly overwhelmed, his own energy blasts getting utterly shredded by the psychic assault. Lying broken on the ground, he can't believe a mere human could wield Chelsea's power so effortlessly, wondering if their fight was just a ruse. Pushed to the brink, the demon grits his teeth, realizing he has no choice but to use his lord's power. He pulls out a syringe filled with some miraculous, glowing green potion. As he injects the fluid, his eye glows with a terrifying new energy. He roars as the power surges through him, his body transforming into a monstrous, hulking beast. But Ji Yuquan is completely unfazed, telling the newly buffed demon to go meet his demise all the same. The demon dodges the psychic chains with ease, leaving Ji Yuquan's attack to smash into the empty ground. In a flash, the powered-up monster is right in his face, ready to strike. Even our boy is taken aback, realizing the demon's speed is on a whole other level now. Before he can even process it, the demon slams him into the concrete with brutal force. The demon gloats over the body, proud that he one-shotted the human with his lord's potion. He figures all that's left is to drag the corpse back as proof of his victory. But as he reaches down, he's suddenly shredded by a flurry of crimson energy threads. The demon is completely dumbfounded, having no idea where that attack came from. Ji Yuchuan rises from the crater, revealing he was just playing dead the whole time. He calmly explains that using Chelsea's power was too taxing, so he switched to his own. The demon gloats, but our boy just smirks, thinking this trash-tier demon fell for the oldest trick in the book. Suddenly, a colossal purple snake of pure demonic energy erupts from Ji Yuchuan, towering over the demon's corpse. The spectral serpent lunges down, its maw wide open to devour the demon's very soul. He grimaces at the disgusting taste but admits it's a necessary evil to restore some of his drained power. But the backlash is immense, and he scoffs at his own body, wondering if this pathetic level of strain is all it can handle. He realizes that human bodies are just too fragile to contain this kind of monstrous power. Just as he's about to collapse, the demon queen Chelsea appears, telling him she's only saving him because she has no other choice. She holds him close, lamenting that if it were up to her, she'd have never gotten involved with such a weak vessel. To save him, she shows some tough love, impaling him with her own demonic energy and telling him to be grateful for her mercy. The process is agonizing, and our boy can only cough up blood as his body is forcibly stabilized. Our boy wakes up in a hellscape, completely disoriented and wondering if he's somehow become the demon queen Chelsea. He quickly realizes this isn't a transformation. He's been plunged into one of her traumatic memories. In this past, a horde of demons is hunting her down, screaming that she's a traitor who needs to be eliminated. Suddenly, a beam of golden light streaks down from the blood-red sky, catching one of the skeletal demons by surprise. The light slams into the ground, erupting into a colossal pillar of pure energy that tears through the desolate land. All the demons are dumbfounded for a second before they erupt in a frenzy, screaming about something called the Eye. It's their ticket out of this god-forsaken place, and they start a mad dash towards the light. Every last one of them scrambles over each other, desperate to claim the Eye for themselves. But Chelsea just scoffs, summoning a gnarly-looking scythe, and deciding that if they all want it so badly, then she'll just have to cut them all down first. Her eyes glowing with cold, murderous intent. With a final, brutal swing, Chelsea declares that the path to freedom is now hers, and hers alone. Suddenly, the vision shatters, and our boy Ji Yuchuan snaps awake, utterly disoriented. He finds himself in a desolate, rocky landscape, with the demon queen Chelsea casually telling him he's finally conscious. Ji Yuchuan stumbles up, demanding to know what she's done, but she just scoffs at the ungrateful human. She leans in, reminding him that she's the one who saved his life, and he realizes with a jolt that he can't move a muscle. Chelsea explains they're now bound by cosmic rules, a pact that means neither of them can harm the other. A spectral demon wraps around him as she reveals the shocking truth. He is now her kin. A slow, calculating smirk spreads across our boy's face as he realizes her entire backstory is real. He immediately starts prodding, asking if she fled to the human world because she was too weak to survive, which makes her furious. But just as she's about to retort, a loud gurgle from her stomach completely shatters the menacing atmosphere. Our boy pulls out a can of food, sarcastically noting he never figured demons could feel hunger. Chelsea explains that in the human world, she's bound by its rules, but admits having a human kin isn't so bad after all. Suddenly, Ji Yuchuan notices a glowing purple mark on his chest and demands to know what it is. She leans in to inspect it, causing him to flinch, defensively telling her he meant no harm. With a sharp "shut up," she cuts him off, her playful demeanor vanishing in an instant. She reveals that in Hell, the top 36 demons are ranked on a leaderboard, and each one bears a unique number. He puts two and two together, his mark is the number 1, but she clarifies that she was betrayed, and her rank and memories were erased. Her grand plan is to consume all the other ranked demons to get her memories back, and she wants him to sign a contract to help. His mind races, connecting the potion the last demon drank to the one the dean gave him, realizing they're all linked to some mysterious lord. Pulling her close, he asks what's in it for him, but his mind is already made up. This demon is a target for his organization, Blaze. Chelsea sweetens the deal, revealing she's seen his memories and can help him find his parents' killer. In exchange, he must help her climb back to the top of the demon leaderboard, summoning a glowing contract circle. But our boy isn't a fool. He stops the ritual mid-cast, agreeing to the deal but only with some extra conditions. He lays down his terms: no arbitrary orders, no possession, and no coercion whatsoever. Chelsea is absolutely dumbfounded, her glowing eyes narrowing with irritation. She comically snaps, asking why he's being so difficult, but he just smirks, saying he has to be cautious with the mightiest demon. Gritting her teeth, she realizes she's stuck. Without him as a willing contractor, she can't access her full power. With the terms agreed upon, they clasp hands, and the contract is officially formed in a flash of purple energy. A massive pillar of demonic power erupts from the ground, sealing their pact for good. The ritual leaves Jiuchuan completely drained, telling his new partner, now a small creature on his shoulder, that he's done his part. With the tiny demon queen asleep on his shoulder, our boy admits to himself that this partnership might not be so bad after all. But while he gets a moment of peace, the city is descending into absolute chaos. At a high-tech command center, alarms blare as demon appearances spike across multiple locations. The woman in charge, Lu Yao, grimly realizes the situation is far worse than any of their projections. Her superior gives the order to his assistant, deciding it's finally time to proceed to the next phase of their plan. Lu Yao clutches a file, a sense of dread washing over her as she feels her own time is running out. Meanwhile, in a desolate, otherworldly wasteland, a sinister presence makes itself known. A monstrous, gargoyle-like demon perches over a screaming stone effigy, a trophy from its last kill. The beast lets out a terrifying roar, asserting its dominance over this barren hellscape. Wasting no time, it smashes through some kind of portal, bursting into a new location to hunt. The demon's hunt was short-lived, as it and another monster now lie dead on a desert highway, roadkill for a passing convoy. Inside the lead truck, the driver laughs it off, telling his passenger that their good days are coming now that the monsters are killing each other. But our boy, Jiuchuan, finds this fascinating. He thought these so-called predators were mindless, yet they're terrified of these low-level demons. The driver clocks his passenger's confusion and asks if he's been living under a rock, since these new creatures aren't in the old predator directory. He explains that these new monsters, officially dubbed sadists, recently emerged from Rose City and are now classified as dangerous level 3 threats. Jiuchuan puts on a grateful smile, thanking the driver for the ride, all while realizing the city officials are clearly covering up the truth about the demons. The driver waves it off, confident that their cargo will fetch a high price and that the official safe route they're on is perfectly secure. Famous last words, as a sudden blast of violent energy rips through the side of his truck. The driver is thrown from his seat, his world turning upside down as the vehicle veers wildly out of control. The survivors stumble out of the wreckage, disoriented and panicked, as the truck driver tries to rally his men. Even our boy Jiuchuan is caught off guard, not by the attack, but by what's causing it. A monstrous winged demon, one of the so-called sadists, dives straight for one of the terrified men. Turns out the driver isn't just some regular Joe. He throws up an energy shield, barely blocking a devastating blast. He screams for his men to evacuate the wounded, trying to hold the line against the ambush. But his defense is short-lived, and he's left wide open as the gargoyle-like beast closes in for the kill. In a flash of red light, the demon is sliced clean in two, its attack cut short before it can even land. The dumbfounded driver turns to thank his savior, realizing the quiet passenger he picked up is an absolute monster in his own right. Just as a sliver of hope returns, one of the survivors points into the distance, his face pale with a new kind of terror. It wasn't just one demon. An entire swarm of these so-called sadists were perched on the cliffs, ready for a massacre. The gargoyle-like beasts snarl, their red eyes burning with hunger as they prepare to dive. While the driver completely panics, convinced they're all dead, Demon Queen Chelsea scoffs at their trash-tier intimidation tactics. She asks our boy if he's ready for some intensive training, and he just smirks, realizing this is the perfect warm-up. The demons finally swarm the convoy, and the men can only scream in terror as the ambush closes in. But when Jiuchuan calmly tells them they won't be dying today, the driver is left completely dumbfounded. In an instant, massive purple chains erupt from the ground, shredding the demons, and leaving the crew wondering what kind of monster they picked up. With a chilling smile, Jiuchuan simply says this is his way of thanking them for the ride. He looms over the remaining demons with a psychic spear in hand, and they finally understand this human is a predator on a whole different level. The last remaining demon scrambles to escape, its instincts screaming that it's facing an apex predator. But our boy just smirks, mocking its attempt to flee as he launches his psychic chain spear. The weapon tears through the air, a streak of deadly purple energy closing the distance in a heartbeat. With a thunderous crash, the spear pins the demon's wing to the ground, shattering the rock beneath it. The beast is brutally impaled, its life force completely extinguished before it can even let out a final scream. After absorbing the demon's essence, Chelsea lets out a small burp and complains that he better not feed her such trash again. Jiuchuan reassures her she won't have to eat the next ones. Just as the driver spots dust clouds on the horizon, the man is overcome with relief, shouting that the enforcement team is finally here to save them. A formidable-looking woman named Lu Yao leads the squad, her sharp gaze locking onto the driver as she asks about their condition. Jiuchuan casually throws an arm around the driver, loudly thanking Lu Yao for saving them just in the nick of time. The driver, flustered, quickly agrees, realizing our boy wants him to keep his mouth shut about who the real hero was. Lu Yao smirks, hearing the report that a live sadist has been captured, clearly not buying the act for a second. She tells Ji Yuchuan he sure kept her waiting, but he just plays dumb, asking what she could possibly need from him. Deciding they've had enough of an audience, he puts a hand on her shoulder and states, "There are too many people around." In a flash of digital distortion, his psychic power activates before anyone can react. He instantly teleports them both into a strange, isolated space, noting that it's much quieter here. Lu Yao is completely dumbfounded, realizing he's a rare space-based psychic capable of a space jump. Now that they're alone, she regains her composure and tells him it's time for a serious talk. Lu Yao gets straight to the point, asking if our boy has already signed a contract with a demon. On his shoulder, Chelsea asks if he wants her to kill this woman, but he tells her to hold on and see what she wants. He plays dumb, but she's not having it and asks if he's ever heard of an organization called Heaven's Wrath. Ji Yuchuan's expression darkens. He knows they're a group packed with powerful psychics. Turns out, Heaven's Wrath is a mysterious global organization dedicated to wiping out predators that emerged after the Red Rain calamity. With the cards on the table, Lu Yao formally invites him to join their team. Ji Yuchuan gives a polite smile, saying her ideals are admirable, but he's got other things to do. She tells him not to be so hasty, claiming that joining them is his best choice no matter what his goals are. The perks are insane: near total access to the 7 major cities and a massive power boost for both him and his contracted demon. With a smirk that could cut glass, he asks her what happens if he still refuses. A blue energy chain suddenly materializes, and our boy sarcastically asks if this is her plan B, imprisonment. Lu Yao coolly informs him that for unofficial contractors, the choice is simple: join Heaven's Wrath or face termination. But Ji Yuchuan just laughs, his hand crackling with a sinister purple energy right beside her face, catching her completely off guard. He unleashes a fraction of his power, flooding the room with an oppressive aura that makes the air thick. With one eye glowing a menacing purple, he calmly states that he's actually willing to join their little club. However, he's got conditions. He gets to choose his own missions, and they have to share all their intel on demons. Lu Yao is stunned, feeling the raw power of his contracted demon coiling around her like a venomous snake. Her shock quickly morphs into a wicked grin. She realizes his immense strength is the final piece she needs for her master plan. Now that they're on the same side, Ji Yuchuan immediately starts grilling her for information on the demon's origins. Lu Yao explains that while their exact beginnings are unknown, they've recently made a critical discovery about them. Turns out, they've discovered a specific frequency that can restrain these so-called predators. Ji Yuchuan calls her out, asking why they're hiding this truth and just labeling demons as simple monsters. Lu Yao scoffs, claiming that too much information would just throw the world into chaos. To the public, they're all just monsters. Our boy isn't buying it, thinking to himself that humans always love to hide things, and this Heaven's Wrath group is no different. Still, he agrees to the deal, saying he hopes they can get along now that she's shown some sincerity. Lu Yao is ecstatic and reaches for a handshake to welcome him, but Ji Yuchuan gives her the cold shoulder. He just gives her a chilling smile, warning her not to disappoint him, making it clear who's really in control here. Unfazed, she tells him to be ready by 8 a.m. tomorrow. She'll take him to headquarters to meet the team. As the sun sets on the city, our boy heads back to his own place, the new deal weighing on his mind. And in a bizarre twist, the deadly hunter is now just a regular guy, calmly making a tomato salad for dinner. Just as he's getting into the zone, a voice calls his name from the other room. Turns out, it's the demon queen Chelsea, who's taking a bath and is completely baffled by the concept of a showerhead. Suddenly, a loud crash from the bathroom makes our boy freeze in his tracks. He bursts in to find the entire place flooded, instantly regretting leaving a demon alone with modern plumbing. Staring at his own reflection, he realizes this mess is going to take all night to clean up. But then a far more terrifying thought hits him: his kitchen. He sprints out, yelling for Chelsea to stop whatever she's doing. But it's too late. He finds her casually finishing his entire dinner, even having the nerve to ask for more. Our boy is absolutely fuming. The last straw has just been snapped. His killer aura flares up as he glares down at Chelsea, who shrinks back into her dragon form, trying to justify eating his dinner because she was hungry. The entire apartment complex hears him roaring that Chelsea is dead meat, while she just shrieks back that he's the real monster here. The next day, our boy arrives at a swanky offshore helipad, ready to start his new gig. He's greeted by Lu Yao, the woman who recruited him into this whole mess. She smirks, asking if he was too excited to sleep, but he just deadpans that his kitchen got infested by a particularly annoying pest. She just plays along, not even questioning his obviously trash-tier excuse. With the pleasantries over, she tells him it's time to go meet the rest of the crew from Heaven's Wrath. overlooking the futuristic Santenberg city. She explains that their boss must be a real big shot to set up shop here. He questions why their base isn't inside the city, but she reminds him that the place is a fortress. Turns out, the city's constant surveillance would seriously cramp their style and restrict their operations. With that, she leads him into their hidden, high-tech facility, ready to give him the grand tour. Taking the elevator deep underground, they descend into the heart of the hidden base. Lu Yao hands our boy his new ID card, already assigning him a room in this high-tech madhouse. She then pulls up a holographic map, breaking down the base's 5 floors into living quarters and a core area. Their first destination, she declares with a smirk, is the Psychic Testing Center. Turns out, every new psychic joining Heaven's Wrath has to be put through the ringer to evaluate their powers. A lab technician greets them, welcoming Lu Yao and acknowledging her hard work in bringing in fresh meat. Ji Yuchuan's eyes flare with a cold light. He's already on high alert, analyzing every corner of this place. He asks if he should just head in, but Lu Yao sweetly suggests he can take his demon if he's feeling unsure. Chelsea, however, isn't buying the act for a second, sensing the woman's blatant hypocrisy. As if on cue, the massive, imposing doors to the testing chamber slide open. Our boy calmly steps into the machine, and the psychic evaluation begins. Suddenly, alarms blare as his eyes glow with immense power, the system flashing critical warnings. A technician screams in disbelief that his psychic index is completely off the charts, exceeding the equipment's capacity. The entire testing apparatus explodes in a shower of sparks, unable to contain his raw power. Lu Yao just smirks, thinking this incredible spiritual fluctuation is exactly what she's been searching for. Ji Yuchuan steps out of the wreckage, putting on an innocent face and apologizing for breaking their fancy machine. He glances at the results, a cold, calculating look in his eyes. The screen confirms it, an S-level mental psychic, but he's a little surprised to see his physique is only ranked B. Lu Yao explains that for a mental type, a B-rank physique is already monstrous, nearly at the level of enhancement specialists. She puts a hand on his shoulder, telling him that with an S-level psychic rating, he can skip the rest of this pointless assessment. With the assessment over, Lu Yao leads him deeper into the facility, towards a massive, glowing containment field. She welcomes him to the real Heaven's Wrath Research Center, standing before a colossal demon floating in a test tube. Our boy just smirks, realizing this is the true reason she brought him here, and she coolly confirms his suspicion. Chelsea, however, is getting a bad feeling, whispering to him that she hopes they aren't about to become test subjects. Lu Yao explains that this research center is an old relic, built to study demons that appeared long before the Red Rain calamity. She then changes the subject, asking him if he's ever thought about the giant tech tree in the heart of Santenberg City. With a knowing look, she reveals that its public function is nothing more than a superficial facade. The truth is, that massive digital tree spreading its roots throughout the city isn't just for decoration. Its real purpose is to act as a colossal prison, sealing away countless high-ranked demons right under everyone's noses. It all clicks into place for Ji Yuchuan. The demonic aura he'd been sensing was leaking from these very prisoners. Lu Yao explains that no one knows why demons first appeared, but their evil energy infected the world, creating both psychics and predators. Our boy puts 2 and 2 together, realizing that the power sources for both demons and humans are fundamentally linked. She lays out the grand plan. Beneath the tech tree are seals for 36 ranked demons, and locking them all away will end the calamity for good. With a serious look, she tells him that only a demon can defeat a demon, and the world desperately needs his unique power. But Ji Yuchuan just scoffs, revealing with a cold smile that he couldn't care less about the future of the planet. He's more interested in something personal, asking if his contract with the demon Chelsea was something she orchestrated from the start. Lu Yao simply stares back, her expression unreadable as the accusation hangs heavy in the air. Chelsea freaks out, screaming that Lu Yao is a villain just like the dean. But our boy calmly tells his little demon to shut up. He then reveals he's been onto her for a while, from her connection to Yehu to the agents she had tailing them. Golden threads of his Dreamweaver power snake around her as he mockingly says she's cast a very long line, implying she's caught a predator she can't handle. But Lu Yao just smirks, smugly asking if he enjoyed falling right into her trap. He lashes out with a golden thread, but she dodges the lethal strike in a flash, much to his surprise. Lu Yao thinks to herself that if it weren't for her spatial ability, that single hit would have been the end of her. Realizing his powers are being suppressed, our boy orders Chelsea to possess him, but she stubbornly refuses. Suddenly, a strange energy yanks Chelsea off his shoulder, forcing her to transform against her will. In a burst of light, she's back in her humanoid form, screaming in confusion about what's happening. Ji Yuchuan watches, dumbfounded, as his demon partner is instantly sealed inside a glowing blue pyramid. Lu Yao casually explains this is some new tech they're testing, and it seems to be working perfectly. Unfazed, our boy sarcastically compliments her, admitting her research center isn't entirely useless after all. But before he can finish his thought, vicious black spikes erupt from the floor, aiming to impale him. Our boy dodges the spikes, but a split second later, his whole body freezes up in shock. He tries to move, only to realize he's completely paralyzed, his shadow pinned by some unknown, inky black substance. Lu Yao smugly congratulates her subordinate, who steps out of the shadows holding a weapon made of pure darkness. Turns out, this new player is the one who laid the trap, and she looks like she means business. Lu Yao introduces her as Shana, another one of their top employees with a perfect mission record. She then reveals that Shana's only failure was the human trafficking case run by Yehu. The realization hits Ji Yuchuan like a truck. He remembers seeing her face among the captives he rescued back then. He scoffs, finally understanding that her failure was the entire point. She was the one who exposed him to them. Lu Yao confirms it, explaining that as a shadow demon contractor, Shana could easily hide her presence and fake being unconscious. From the intel she gathered, they became fascinated by his immense mental power, a crucial asset for contracting with demons. But our boy just smirks, asking Lu Yao if she's really so confident standing this close to a psychic powerhouse like him. Suddenly, Lu Yao is dumbfounded, as golden threads of energy begin to materialize all around her. Before she or Shana can react, the threads wrap around her completely, paralyzing her on the spot. Shana wastes no time, manifesting her shadow bow and demanding he release her boss immediately. Ji Yuchuan calmly explains the tables have turned. If they want Lu Yao to live, they'll release Chelsea from her prison. Xiana grits her teeth, caught between her loyalty to her boss and the mission objective. She makes a split-second decision, drawing her bow and letting a volley of shadow arrows fly. The arrows shatter Chelsea's containment unit, but one also slams right into Ji Yuchuan, knocking him back. With her boss freed, Xiana rushes to her side, but the fight is far from over. Ji Yuchuan rises, now surrounded by Chelsea's demonic purple chains, mocking them for thinking their little trap ever stood a chance. But in a shocking twist, Lu Yao apologizes, revealing the whole hostage crisis was just a test of Xiana's abilities that got out of hand. Our boy is completely disgusted by the hypocrisy, thinking to himself that these humans are even more revolting than trash-tier demons. Lu Yao cuts to the chase, offering him a position as the brain for a new team of psychic demon contractors she's assembled. He just smirks, telling her he's not interested in being a babysitter for her little squad, but she knows exactly what he wants, offering him access to the Heaven's Wrath system and free reign to hunt any demon he pleases. Ji Yuchuan realizes this is the perfect opportunity. He can use their resources to fulfill his contract and finally get rid of Chelsea. With his mind made up, he asks for the next step, and Lu Yao assigns him to the Wailing Tower with Xiana for the next morning. She explains that he'll meet the other 3 members of the team when he gets there. Lu Yao can't hide her satisfaction, thinking her perfect demon squad is finally coming together. The next day dawns on Santanurg City Square, setting the stage for their first mission. Meanwhile, one of Lu Yao's associates, a researcher type, calmly notes that energy fluctuations are perfectly normal. Turns out he's monitoring a colossal pale demon that's just smashed its way out of containment. But before it can even take a step, a small, blue-haired boy devours it whole, letting out a satisfied burp. Elsewhere, under a blood-red moon, a lone road sets a much grittier scene. Here we meet another member, a masked psycho laughing his head off, casually holding a demon's severed head. The final member, however, operates in a completely different world of luxury. He's posted up in a high-rise penthouse with its own private pool. This long-haired pretty boy is just chilling in a bathrobe, sipping on some expensive-looking wine. He seems completely at ease, a world away from the freaks and monsters on his new team. But a sudden flash to a monitor reveals his dark past as a terrified subject of over 1,700 brutal experiments. A researcher coldly tells the young boy to prepare for the second experiment. Turns out, the lab had 2 identical devices, a detail that sticks in our boy's memory. Back in the present, Ji Yuchuan mulls over his mission, trying to connect the dots between different organizations. Suddenly, a demonic hand snatches his wine glass, with a voice teasing him for taking it easy. It's the demon queen Chelsea in her humanoid form, casually sipping his wine while he protests that she's in the men's bath. She just scoffs, saying a demon couldn't care less about pathetic human customs. She leans in close, grabbing his chin and asking if he's flustered because he has some dirty fantasies about her. Our boy is completely caught off guard as she gets right in his face, her eyes glowing with mischief. Her horn begins to radiate a powerful purple energy as she whispers a spell right into his ear. A wave of enchantment magic washes over them, wrapping Ji Yuchuan completely in her demonic power. Chelsea reveals her master plan, By controlling his Dreamweaver, she can invade his mind directly. She commands the seemingly entranced Ji Yuchuan to submit his body to her will. But instead of obeying, a sly smirk creeps across his face as he whispers something back. The Demon Queen is completely dumbfounded, demanding to know what he just said. Turns out the enchantment was a total bust. Our boy has her trapped in his golden threads, telling her he sees right through her schemes. She's absolutely floored, screaming in disbelief that her powerful magic had zero effect on him. Ji Yuchuan just coolly explains that he never, ever underestimates his opponents. Now it's her turn to be trapped, and all she can do is curse him for being a despicable human. His power plunges into her mind, revealing a traumatic memory of a younger Chelsea being forced to become the new Demon King. The vision deepens, showing her standing grimly upon a throne of skulls, a ruler forged in blood and betrayal. His mind dive reveals a horrifying scene where her own demonic subjects turn on her, demanding her blood as a sacrifice. In the memory, a younger, enraged Chelsea screams at them to get lost, betrayed by the very demons she was meant to lead. The psychic backlash hits our boy hard, making him cough as the Demon Queen furiously tells him there are consequences for his intrusion. He's still reeling, realizing he just witnessed her deepest trauma, the truth behind her ascent to the throne. She's had enough, lunging forward with glowing purple claws to deliver what she calls his long-overdue punishment. But her attack just stops, leaving her completely dumbfounded as she finds her wrist caught in an iron grip. Turns out, Ji Yuchuan caught her attack with one hand, his robe falling open as he looks down at the stunned Demon Queen. He gives her a cold, hard stare, a silent message that the games are officially over. Suddenly, we cut to an outside view of the building as someone screams Chelsea's name into the night. The scene then shifts to a massive skyscraper ominously named the Wailing Tower, leaving us to wonder what's coming next. We find our boy Ji Yuchuan with a new pink-haired colleague, annoyed that their client is wasting his time by not teleporting them directly. He explains that spatial transference is incredibly draining, so it was just a cheap intimidation tactic. But before he can finish, a wild-eyed brawler with a bloody weapon appears from nowhere, screaming that humans are useless. Ji Yuchuan dodges the lightning-fast ambush, the attack barely grazing past him as it smashes into the ground. Hess internally stunned, realizing he never even sensed this guy's presence. This new opponent is the real deal. The pink-haired woman quickly intervenes, stopping the brawler she calls Sigrism and telling him Ji Yuchuan is their new partner. Sigrism gets up, sneering with disgust and complaining that our boy absolutely stinks. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, retorting that his power, Bella, doesn't like Sigrism's smell, either as red energy whips around him. Not one to be outdone, Sigrism prepares his own counter, summoning a shield of blue hexagonal energy. The two powers clash in a brilliant explosion, red tendrils smashing against the blue barrier as the fight begins. Just as the fight is about to pop off, a calm voice cuts through the tension, telling Sigrism to stand down. A blonde man with glasses steps forward, chiding Sigrism for being so unwelcoming to their new teammate. Sigrism just scoffs in annoyance, clearly not happy about being told what to do. Before he can argue, green energy tendrils wrap around his leg, and he realizes even Guzera is stopping him. A blindfolded boy calmly tells him to relax, reminding him that this was all Miss Lu Yao's arrangement. Defeated, Sigrism talks to his weapon, asking his Bella to tolerate the newcomer's disgusting demon for a little while. The weapon's red energy pulses as if to say it will endure this, but only for its master's sake. The pink-haired woman, Lu Yao, then pulls up a holographic display, briefing them on a high-priority mission involving a ranked demon. Sigrism immediately storms off, grumbling about just killing anything that gets in their way, with Guzera trailing behind him. The blonde man stays behind, formally introducing himself to Ji Yuchuan as Ba Yin and offering a handshake. Our boy introduces himself, but his little dragon demon, Chelsea, whispers a warning in his mind. This new guy is stronger than him. Chelsea gets instantly excited, practically screaming that she wants Ba Yin's body, forcing Ji Yuchuan to quietly restrain her. With introductions over, Ba Yin leads Ji Yuchuan and Lu Yao toward the mission site, a seriously ominous-looking building. Inside, Sigrism and Guzera are already waiting, and Sigrism can't help but comment on how utterly disgusting the place is. Suddenly, a freaky-looking piranha monster bursts from the green slime, lunging right at them. Guzera doesn't even flinch, seemingly using his power to mess with the creature as it lets out a cackle. But Sigrism isn't waiting around, stepping in front of Guzera and powering up his blade to slice the trash-tier monster in half. He warns Guzera to stay sharp, pointing out that these things can swim through the pools of slime all over the floor. Guzera clutches his coat, asking if his big brother will protect him, and Sigrism just smirks, saying of course he will. His weapon, Bella, flares with power, as Sigrism reaffirms his one true mission, protecting his little brother at all costs. Seagrism roars with manic glee, declaring that his sole duty is to be the ultimate older brother. Guzera watches his brother's display, calmly thinking to himself that Seagrism is as reckless as ever. But he doesn't seem to mind, casually dropping a strange, spoon-like object into the green ooze. As more monsters emerge, he activates his skill, Gluttony, knowing this will only attract more of them the deeper they go. Meanwhile, Ba Yin and Lu Yao finally make their way into the disgusting, slime-covered corridors. Ba Yin suggests they stick together to counter the barrier demon, but Ji Yuquan's reflection shows his refusal, preferring to go solo. Lu Yao explains this entire 4-star mission is his initiation, leaving Ba Yin stunned that a newbie could handle such a high-difficulty test. But Lu Yao's expression turns grim as she flatly denies that he's just another strong ally. She warns Ba Yin that the newbie is dangerous, as our boy realizes he's been walking in circles this whole time. Ji Yuquan quickly deduces they're trapped in a ghost wall, a classic illusion meant to disorient intruders. He notes that the endless monsters popping out of the ooze have a strange, mermaid-like appearance. Suddenly, Chelsea's voice cuts through his thoughts, warning him to stay sharp. She senses a massive presence barreling down the corridor right towards them. Our boy instantly reacts, his golden threads lashing out to intercept the incoming threat. But his attack hits nothing, leaving him to wonder if his senses are playing tricks on him. Turns out, the real danger wasn't in front of him, but had snuck up right behind his back. A rank 31 mermaid demon materializes with a grin, making the bizarre demand that he give her a child. Ji Yuquan is completely dumbfounded, unable to process the sheer absurdity of her request. Chelsea, of course, finds this hilarious and suggests he just agree to it, earning a sharp rebuke from our boy. He lunges forward, declaring that having children is something you do with someone you love before striking her down. He glances back with a smirk, telling the beautiful Miss to treasure herself. The mermaid demon is completely stunned, having never been addressed with such courtesy before. Her mind short-circuits, mistaking his words for a marriage proposal, and she immediately starts planning their future. But while she's lost in her delusional fantasy, our boy's golden threads pierce right through her without mercy. She dissolves into a pool of water, realizing his attack was just too much for her to handle. As her consciousness fades, she has a fleeting vision of her mother. Her final, agonizing thought isn't of her own death, but the regret of never even asking for his name. Suddenly, the water she left behind begins to churn violently, forming a massive vortex. The vortex explodes with incredible force, shattering the illusionary space around them like glass. When the chaos subsides, Ji Yuquan calmly steps into the puddle where the demon once stood. Guzera rushes over to a wounded Seagrism, asking if he's okay. But Seagrism just grunts that he's fine, more worried about Guzera's own injuries. Meanwhile, Ba Yin smugly remarks to the pink-haired woman that Seagrism got what he deserved for not following orders. Seagrism ignores the comment and asks what happened to the newbie, with Guzera coldly assuming the waste is probably dead by now. But the pink-haired woman checks her holographic display, announcing that Ji Yuquan's life signal is, impossibly, still active. Intrigued, she looks up at the wrecked building and decides they should hold back and observe for a little while longer. The scene shifts back inside to the pool, where our boy took down the first demon. Suddenly, a far more powerful-looking mermaid demon bursts from the water, screaming for him not to touch her stuff. She looms over Ji Yuquan's unconscious body, her anger twisting into a creepy obsession as she admits she wants to have his child. She spots the master-servant contract on his chest but couldn't care less about it. In her mind, she can just forge a new contract, one that will bind our boy to her forever. The horned mermaid queen grins with twisted delight, lost in her fantasy of being with our boy forever. But her creepy daydream is cut short when a voice asks her what she just said, leaving her utterly confused. Turns out, Ji Yuquan was never unconscious, and coldly tells her he's not interested in raw food. She looks down in shock to see his hand plunging a sharp object straight into her gut. As she screams in agony, the Ji Yuquan holding her has a completely deadpan expression, totally unfazed. Suddenly, his form dissipates into purple energy, revealing the true demon queen Chelsea in her humanoid form, who smugly asks how her acting was. She stands over the dying mermaid, remarking how she didn't expect this stupid thing to let her guard down so completely. The horned mermaid queen cries diamond tears, wondering why even her own kind would betray her like this. Her body dissolves into the water, leaving behind a single glowing gem as she fades away. We're then shown a glimpse into her core memory, an unconscious man on a beach and a woman kneeling beside him, the very source of her tragic obsession. It turns out the mermaid queen had once saved a human man, nursing his wounds with gentle care. They lived a seemingly idyllic life together, with him painting her as she danced happily in the sun. But that beautiful memory shatters, revealing a monstrous hand bursting from her chest as her past self begs to be saved. the truth is revealed. The man she loved dragged her onto an auction stage, presenting her as a rare delicacy. A frenzy of bids erupts for her flesh, which is rumored to grant eternal life, while her beloved just watches the price climb. In her memory, the man she trusted smirks down at her, calling her a stupid but very valuable thing. Back in the present, her vengeful spirit rises from the depths, declaring that even though he lied, it's fine, because now she'll make him a corpse, so they can be together forever. As her true monstrous form erupts from the water, she has become a colossal, tentacled horror, a true queen of the abyss, holding a glowing green orb of pure rage. Without a moment's hesitation, she unleashes a devastating blast of energy straight at Ji Yuchuan and Chelsea. But our boy Ji Yuchuan just grins, welcoming a full showdown since it's been a while since he had a real fight. The enraged queen doesn't care, launching another water blast while screaming for him to just die already. He effortlessly leaps over her, smugly telling her that killing him might be a bit difficult. His scythe, crackling with demonic power, clashes with her attack in a massive explosion of energy. She's completely lost it. Her only thought now is to tear him to absolute shreds. But he's way too fast, landing a brutal kick infused with his golden Dreamweaver energy right in her face. He lands gracefully, admitting to himself that if that last attack had connected, he'd be nothing but bone dust. Seeing him stumble, the queen mocks him from above, asking if he's finally scared. Fear is the last thing on his mind. He looks up with a psycho grin, revealing he's actually thrillingly excited. With a burst of speed, he dashes across the wall, weaving his golden threads to set up his next attack. His golden threads slice through the water, cornering the enraged queen who thought she could escape. She tries to reform, but the threads are relentless, shredding her watery form to bits. Our boy watches her materialize, noting that her ability to move through water is actually a fatal flaw. With a cold smirk, he thinks to himself that she's just delivered herself right into his hands. He grabs one of her tentacles, plunging his hand deep into its flesh as green blood splatters. The moment he makes contact, he whispers that he's got her, springing the real trap. Suddenly, the purple chains of the demon queen erupt from his body, wrapping around the mermaid queen. She's completely bound and dumbfounded, her face hidden in shadow as she realizes her mistake. Ji Yuchuan just stands there, unimpressed, as a strange green energy begins to emanate from her. In a final, desperate move, she unleashes a massive vortex of water. But our boy doesn't even flinch. Turns out, as a ranked demon, she can use a rule-based power called enhancement to juice herself up. The sheer force of her transformation sends our boy flying, but he refuses to let go. She blasts him with a concentrated beam of energy, slamming him into the ground below. But even while coughing up blood, Ji Yuchuan just smirks, his golden eye analyzing her new speed. The mermaid queen's body then completely dissolves, melting into the surrounding water. She activates her 100 refinements illusion technique, turning the entire area into a watery prison filled with her eyes. Our boy is getting annoyed, realizing he can't land a single hit while she's slipping around like an eel. He decides that if something can't be caught, you just have to make its entire hiding place vanish. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he confirms he's got a plan in mind. He raises his scythe, crackling with demonic power, and warns that things are about to get very noisy. Instead of running, our boy dives headfirst down the side of the building, his scythe carving a path straight through the glass. The entire floor erupts in a massive explosion, leaving Sigrism and his crew completely dumbfounded as they get blasted by the shockwave. Turns out, Ji Yuchuan targeted the main water tank, shattering the very foundation of the Mermaid Queen's watery domain. With the illusion destabilized, he unleashes his Dreamweaver ability, weaving golden threads of pure heat throughout the area. His plan is simple and brutal. If she wants to hide in the water, he'll just evaporate every last drop. The Mermaid Queen is forcibly materialized, screaming in agony as the water around her begins to boil. Seeing his chance, Ji Yuchuan calls on Chelsea's power, summoning a deadly purple spear to finish the job. The spear slams directly into the queen's chest, impaling her before she even has time to react. She stares down at the fatal wound, tears of water streaming from her eyes as the pain overwhelms her. But as she dies, a vision of her past self appears before Ji Yuchuan, and Hez, horrified, realizing he can't accept this tragic end. The vision shows her true self trapped inside the monster, desperately pleading for someone to save her. Ji Yuchuan is thrown into her memories, back to a grimy auction where she was sold as the final prize. The crowd goes insane, bidding billions for a taste of her flesh, rumored to grant eternal life. But amidst the greedy mob, one young man calmly declares that he will be the one to buy her. He later finds her in a beautiful garden, telling her he knows how she feels even if she can't speak. With a gentle smile, he asks if it's true that she likes him. The poor girl is completely flustered, unable to find the words to respond. He gently takes her hand, a simple touch that bridges the gap between them. In that moment, she feels a connection she's never known before. Blushing, she finally tries to say his name, utterly captivated by the man who saved her. Her lover simply says he likes her, a confession that changes her entire world. Overwhelmed with joy, she pulls him into a tight embrace, finally feeling true happiness. But that beautiful memory shatters, replaced by a gnawing, insatiable hunger in the dark. Her eyes turn monstrous as she realizes in horror what she's done to the man she loved most. The sheer agony of her sin causes her to break down completely, her mind and body twisting in despair. She decides that perhaps death is the only escape, the only penance for her crime. With that thought, she seals her own monstrous form in a prison of ice, choosing oblivion over memory. Back in the present, Ji Yuchuan understands everything. She buried the pain so deep it became her core. With the truth revealed, the purple chains of his psychic power begin to manifest around the icy prison. A colossal energy dragon emerges, as Chelsea declares it's finally time to devour this broken empress. But just as Chelsea is about to devour her prey, golden threads of energy wrap around her, forcing her to stop. A furious Chelsea demands to know why Ji Yuchuan is suddenly getting in her way. Our boy calmly explains that picking a fight with the Heaven's Wrath organization over a low-ranked demon just isn't worth it. She reluctantly pulls back, her massive energy form coiling with absolute frustration. Chelsea gets right in his face, questioning if he's really trying to order her around, but he insists he's just thinking long-term. Hez sweating bullets though, knowing that while their contract prevents her from killing him, he's in no shape to take another beating. Suddenly, a whip of her energy snaps past his face, a clear and terrifying warning shot. After a tense moment, she seems to sense his sincerity, admitting that he doesn't smell like a liar. Reverting to her smaller form, she warns him not to test her patience again as he catches her. With the crisis finally averted, Ji Yuchuan looks out over the city, letting out a sigh of relief. But while our boy deals with his own problems, absolute chaos has erupted elsewhere in Dorn City. A lone hooded messenger frantically tries to escape the carnage, clutching a device. Before he can get far, a horrifying pale monster lunges from the shadows, its massive tongue lashing out. It's an instant kill, a brutal end for the poor soul. As his body hits the pavement, the device in his hand continues to beep, sending out one last desperate signal. The transmission is a dire warning. Dorn City has fallen, and is in urgent need of rescue. Elsewhere, a team of hunters receives the signal, their building shrouded in an ominous calm. A pink-haired agent confirms the emergency, stating that their leader, Miss Lu Yao, needs them there immediately. On the rooftop, her teammates are already waiting. Ba Yin complains that the newbie still hasn't arrived, calling him trash if he's this weak. Suddenly, a massive sphere of energy slams into their building, and Seagrism can only stare, dumbfounded by the explosive entrance. Turns out, that explosive entrance was the newbie, and this whole scene is a flashback to his first day. Emerging from the smoke of a past battle, a younger Ji Yuchuan looks utterly drained. He asks his new team why they aren't fighting demons, clearly confused by the mission's objective. Guzera complains that their intel must be trash, as this demon isn't even ranked, but Lu Yao calmly says he's wrong. She activates a holographic cube, ready to show them the real situation. The projection reveals a massive, writhing tentacle monster being contained within a digital prison. She confirms the mission's success. The 31st ranked demon has officially been captured. With the job done, a hand is extended to our boy, formally welcoming him to the demon squad. But Ji Yuchuan isn't here for pleasantries. He immediately identifies the man as Ba Yin, the barrier demon contractor. Ba Yin is completely dumbfounded, wondering how this rookie already knows his name and specialty. Having dealt with Ba Yin, our boy's attention is drawn to the other two members, Seagrism and Guzera. Seagrism, a punk with a massive blade, is immediately hostile, saying he hates strangers using his name and seems to be sizing up the guy who took down a ranked demon solo. Without another word, he ignites his blade with fiery energy, roaring for a fight to test the rookie's mettle. He lunges forward, his weapon a blur of motion aimed straight for our boy. But before the blade can connect, a psychic spear erupts from the ground, stopping the attack cold and leaving everyone stunned. Lu Yao steps in, her face stern, telling Seagrism he can pick fights later. Their top priority is supporting Dorn City. The hot-headed brawler just clicks his tongue in annoyance, clearly not happy about being shut down. He relents for now, telling Ji Yuchuan they'll settle this after the mission, while Guzera quietly urges him to get moving. As they prepare to leave, Chelsea pops up on our boy's shoulder, warning him that this Seagrism guy is no joke. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, thinking to himself that the truly strong ones on this team probably haven't even shown their true colors yet. With the team assembled, they head out in a massive armored truck, protected by a strange hexagonal energy shield. Inside, Lu Yao confirms to command that they're on their way, while our boy Ji Yuchuan sits quietly, observing his new colleagues. Chelsea pops up on his shoulder, hissing that this guy looks pretty tasty, no doubt sensing the chaotic energy swirling around him. The long-haired dude, Ba Yin, explains their stealth is thanks to a barrier demon, but keeping it active is a huge drain on mental power. Chelsea then pipes up, asking Ji Yuchuan if he knows what kind of people actually make contracts with demons. She reveals there are only two types: straight-up villains, or people hiding a hell of a lot of secrets. She then gestures to the two sleeping powerhouses in the back, Sigrism and Guzera, asking our boy to guess which category they fall into. Ji Yuchuan just smiles and asks Chelsea what she thinks of him, and she bluntly calls him a disgusting guy who's full of secrets. His playful demeanor vanishes as his thoughts turn to their destination, his eyes hardening with focus. Turns out Dorn City isn't just a city. It's a chaotic prison metropolis where criminals are sent to atone, and it's already under siege. On the ground, a team reports to their captain, Lu Yao, that the fog around Dorn City is a super-concentrated version of a previous incident, and their shields are failing. She gets the grim update. They've completely lost contact with the first two teams, and the third is about to go dark, suggesting something is hunting inside the mist. Trying to keep it together, Lu Yao orders her assistant to keep an eye on the last signal and push the lab for answers, fast. With all their conventional options exhausted, she knows all they can do now is wait for the demon squad to arrive. Meanwhile, inside the city, the streets are a blood-soaked nightmare, hinting at the carnage that's already unfolded. The wet, sickening sound of chewing echoes through a dark alley. We see the source. A monstrous creature made of stitched, together parts is feasting on a pile of gore. A mysterious figure stands over the abomination, casually asking if the snacks are still to its liking. The stitched-up thing pauses its meal, its bloodied, fanged mouth twisting. It looks up with its dead eyes and gurgles out that its meal is absolutely delicious. The mysterious master tells his creation he's just watching, but the monster growls back that it's in the middle of eating. The shadowy figure, a demonic-looking man holding a strange book, remarks that it's been 3 days and his minions have nearly wiped the city clean. He muses that it's tough communicating with such low-level trash, even if it can speak, but tells the creature to enjoy its meal. He gets down to business, reminding the abomination that their real enemy is almost here and asks if it remembers their deal. Patting the monster, he gives it some twisted encouragement to keep wiping out the humans, saying he believes in it. With a final command not to disappoint him, he leaves the stitched monster behind, gifting it a pair of glowing blue energy blades. The scene shifts to a temporary military base for the Heaven's Wrath operation, set up just outside the doomed Dorn City. Inside, Lu Yao briefs her team, explaining how the city was hit by monsters and a mysterious fog 3 days ago, with all recon teams going dark. After she lays out the grim situation, Ji Yuchuan immediately suspects demons, while the hot-headed Sigrism just wants to barge in and kill everything that moves. A pink-haired squad member voices her concern, pointing out they're going in blind and it could easily be a trap. Ba Yin, the team's usual scout, calmly suggests that he and Xiana should go in first, just like they always do. But Lu Yao immediately shuts him down, deciding that Ji Yuchuan and Xiana will be the ones to go this time. The new pairing sits in silence as the team leader's unexpected order hangs in the air. Ba Yin questions her logic, calling our boy a rookie, but Lu Yao fires back, asking if he's even fit for duty after straining himself maintaining a barrier for over 24 hours. She then dismisses Sigrism and Guzera, stating that while they're great fighters, they're not cut out for this kind of delicate recon work. Lu Yao explains to Ji Yuchuan that she wants to avoid any unnecessary risks, and she believes he and Sha Na are the best fit for the job. Our boy smirks, taking her words as approval, and even volunteers to go alone, secretly planning to investigate the Blaze organization's involvement. Lu Yao isn't having it, firmly stating that Sha Na's experience is mandatory, and orders the rest of the team to be ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Chelsea confirms his suspicions, whispering that Lu Yao just wants a babysitter, but our boy doesn't care. They'll do things their own way. Their mission zone is a blood-soaked ghost town, with an eerie silence hanging over the abandoned streets. Suddenly, a glowing blue cube, a fragment of Lu Yao's spatial power, materializes in a dark alley. The cube shatters into digital fragments, and from within, Ji Yuchuan and Xia Na step into the heart of the city. He's impressed that Lu Yao can package her abilities like this for others to use, but his train of thought is cut short by a sudden sense of dread. Both of them look up to see a demonic silhouette circling ominously in the night sky. The creature isn't just flying. It's casually dropping human bodies from its claws like they're nothing but garbage. It's a full-blown feeding operation, with winged demons airdropping corpses to a ravenous pack of pale monsters on the ground. Shana is dumbfounded by this twisted food chain, and our boy realizes this situation is far more complicated than they ever imagined. Before they can even process the horror, one of the winged gargoyles breaks from the pack and dives straight for Xia. But our boy Jiu Chuan is faster, shouting a warning as he throws up a golden web of psychic energy to block the attack. Xia, unfazed, readies her shadow bow and tells him to drop the barrier in 2 seconds, already having a plan. He trusts her completely, dropping the shield just as she leaps over him and fires a devastating shadow projectile. The attack slams into the demon with brutal force, pinning the screeching creature to the pavement. It lets out a final, agonizing shriek as her shadow magic begins to tear it apart from the inside out. The monster dissolves into a puddle of black sludge, and for a second, they think they're in the clear. Suddenly, Xiaona's instincts scream danger. She whips her bow around, demanding to know who's hiding in the shadows. A grizzled man with white braided hair steps out, his eyes sizing them up, intrigued by their special abilities. Xiaona keeps her shadow bow aimed squarely at the man, demanding to know who he is and where they came from. Our boy recalls his briefing with Liu Yao, who told him to use the Santenberg Alliance as a cover story, as he never expected to find actual survivors. Ji Yuchuan smoothly flashes a card, introducing them as members of the Santenberg Alliance sent to support the city. The old man is completely stunned, the name of the powerful alliance echoing in his mind. His shock quickly turns to overwhelming relief as he realizes that help has finally, truly arrived. He gratefully shakes Ji Yuchuan's hand, introducing himself as Joris, a locksmith. Joris warns them that it's too dangerous to stay out in the open and urges them to follow him immediately. He leads them through the desolate streets, explaining that he's taking them to where the other survivors are hiding. Xiana eyes Ji Yuchuan suspiciously, but he just gives a sly grin, reminding her that their orders were to follow any mouse they found. Joris pops open a manhole cover, revealing a path into the dark, grimy underbelly of the city. Without a word, he gestures for them to follow him down into the sprawling sewer system. As they navigate the tunnels, Joris explains this is Momen City's advanced drainage system, the very reason any of them survived the Red Rain calamity. Our boy notes how well Joris knows the layout, and the old man reveals a tragic truth. This ruined city is his hometown. He finally stops before a massive, reinforced door, announcing that they've reached the supposed safe haven. Ji Yuchuan and Xiana exchange a silent, uncertain glance, taking in the grim reality of this hideout. Joris assures them that the place is nearly impossible to find and should be completely safe from the monsters above. But our boy's enhanced senses are immediately assaulted by a foul stench, a gut feeling that something is deeply wrong here. He cuts through the pleasantries, asking Joris a simple, chilling question. If this place is so safe, where is everyone else? Before Joris can answer, the darkness erupts with the sound of automatic gunfire. Our boy reacts in a flash, throwing up a golden energy shield to protect himself and a startled Xiana. Turns out, this safe haven is an ambush, and the guards immediately identify them as members of the Santenberg Alliance. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, realizing this is a prison for criminals, and tells Xiana to cool her jets before they start a real fight. He casually walks up to a massive cell, the air crackling with energy as he touches the bars. They both realize the cell is made of source stone, a rare mineral born from the Red Rain calamity that can seal a person's abilities. Joris then steps forward, calling for his people to come out of hiding now that the trap is sprung. A group of weary survivors emerges, a woman immediately asking if Joris brought back the medicine they so desperately need. But Joris delivers the bad news, admitting he couldn't find the exile faction's meds, sending the survivors into a panic as they need the Dove antidote to live. Joris just smirks, telling his people not to worry, because they've got a couple of high-value bargaining chips right here. Our boy isn't even fazed, remarking that he knew the exile faction was using drugs to control these criminals, while Xiana realizes this isn't a sewer, but a full-blown prison. Joris confirms her suspicion, explaining this is where they were forced to live a life of endless toil in the dark. He reveals a glowing mark on his neck, spitting that the so-called Dove's poison is a constant source of agony for every single one of them. But Xiana, ever the pragmatist, just asks why they didn't stop stealing if the punishment was so severe, leaving Joris completely dumbfounded. Ji Yuchuan, however, cuts through the sob story, pointing out that the equal length of Joris's fingers is a dead giveaway of years of training as a professional thief. Joris explodes in anger, screaming that people like them could never understand their pain, but another survivor quickly tells him to calm down. She then lays out their demands. Get them supplies and meds by tonight, or their 2 bargaining chips are as good as dead. Xiana scoffs, revealing she'd love to call for backup, but the entire city is shrouded in a signal-blocking fog, making contact impossible. The survivors are getting impatient, but Xiana just sighs, annoyed that they jumped to conclusions without understanding who they were dealing with. Turns out, our boy was just stalling for time, asking if her shadow demon was finally ready to make its move. Suddenly, Joris is frozen in place, realizing in sheer terror that the source stone meant to suppress their powers has completely failed. In an instant, Xiana's shadows erupt, easily capturing all 26 survivors in the open and another 14 who were hiding in the dark. Ji Yuchuan smirks, announcing it's time to open this cage, as Chelsea scoffs at the pathetic attempt to seal demonic powers with a simple stone. With a massive burst of purple energy, he effortlessly shatters the reinforced bars of their cell. Now free. Our boy approaches the terrified Joris, holding a scalpel-like tool with grim intent. Joris can only watch in horror as the gleaming blade gets closer, knowing his little rebellion is over. With his golden eye glowing ominously, Ji Yuchuan declares it's time to peel back the lies and see what really happened in this city. Ji Yuchuan's power plunges us into a memory. The dark, oppressive underground mines of Dorn City. A miner named George whispers to his friend, noticing that their numbers have been dwindling lately. But their quiet chat is cut short by the crack of a whip from a trash-tier supervisor. The supervisor, Brian, screams at them for daring to talk on the job, doubling their workload as punishment. George, not one to take it lying down, accuses Brian of abusing his power for some personal grudge. Big mistake, Brian delivers a brutal kick to George's stomach, sending him flying. He then turns on the rest of the miners, calling them a bunch of pigs who need to get back to work. Brian sneers that if it weren't for the exile faction's kindness, these criminals would be rotting in the wasteland. He scoffs at their audacity, calling them a bunch of ungrateful backstabbers for even questioning him. The memory ends with Brian whispering to a colleague, clearly plotting something far more sinister. And we see exactly what Brian was plotting as a sadistic grin spreads across his face. He cackles, telling the miners it's their lucky day they get to dine with some esteemed guests. Their glowing cuffs activate, forcing the prisoners to behave as they're led away. The group is marched out of the dark caves and into the unknown. Turns out, this whole operation is happening at the Dorn City mining facility. After so long in the darkness, the prisoners are momentarily blinded by the bright, open sky. They're lined up in the yard, surrounded by a new set of stone-faced prison guards. The miners whisper amongst themselves. The air is thick with a terrifying silence, and they know something is dead wrong. Elsewhere, the true mastermind, Hobart, leader of the exile faction, is asked by a shadowy figure if it's time to begin the feast. With a cold, dead look in his glowing red eyes, Hobart gives the chilling command to serve the food. But the food isn't what they expected. The prison guards suddenly transform into grotesque, pale-skinned monsters. The yard erupts into a bloodbath as these new predators begin tearing the helpless miners apart, their arms morphing into razor-sharp blades. One of the prisoners, a guy with blue braids, realizes the entire exile faction has been turned into monsters as part of some twisted experiment. The other miners panic, begging the blue-haired man, Juarez, to use his lock-picking skills to free them, revealing their ability holders. With a satisfying click, Juarez breaks the special ability-suppressing cuffs. The freed miners are ecstatic as their powers surge back, their hands crackling with raw energy. Without a moment's hesitation, they unleash their full power, ready to turn the tables on their monstrous captors. Watching the battle, Juarez finally understands that the handcuffs were made of crude stones, the one material that can nullify their powers. Elsewhere, the shadowy figure smirks, remarking that he didn't expect a few rats to show up at his little feast. His single, glowing eye stares out from the swirling void of his face, promising a world of pain for those who dare to interfere. Realizing the miners are more than just rats, the shadowy figure decides to accelerate his plan, unleashing a truly monstrous beast. Suddenly, smaller dragon-like demons descend from the sky, leaving the newly freed ability holders completely dumbfounded. Before anyone can even process what's happening, the creatures are already on them, claws first. The miners' brief moment of rebellion turns into a bloodbath as they're hunted down without mercy. Juarez screams a warning to his brother, but it's too late as a beast pins George to the ground. The creature sinks its fangs deep into George's shoulder, the sound of tearing flesh echoing in the chaos. All Juarez can do is scream his friend's name in pure agony, watching the horrific scene unfold. He scrambles to his fallen friend's side, but the wound is clearly fatal, with blood pooling around them. With his dying breath, George weakly promises they'll escape and go home together once this is all over. His body then goes limp in Juarez's arms, his final, impossible dream fading away with his life. Juarez clutches his friend, desperately promising they'll go back to their village where everything will be safe again. But George is fading fast, his last thoughts drifting to something as simple as wanting to taste apple pie. Trying to keep him anchored to life, Juarez promises to buy him all the pies he could ever want, just begging him not to fall asleep. He paints a picture of their future, planting flowers in front of their little house, but his words are choked with tears. Finally breaking, he can only whisper an apology to his brother for letting this happen. With his last ounce of strength, George's eyes lock onto his, making him promise to survive for him. A final tear rolls down his cheek as the life drains from his eyes, leaving Juarez completely alone. A primal scream of pure agony erupts from Juarez, his grief manifesting as a fiery, uncontrollable aura. But the monsters don't care about his pain, as one of the beasts swoops down for an easy kill. Suddenly, a blue dragon crashes down from the sky, shattering the ground right in front of our boy. The beast roars, a guardian sent from the heavens, or maybe somewhere else entirely. Clutching his brother's body, Juarez makes a new vow. He won't just survive. Hell expose the city's rotten core. Elsewhere, Ji Yuchuan pieces it all together. The demons and predators are working in tandem to hunt the prisoners. He tells Xiana that he's sedated the survivors, giving them a temporary reprieve from this nightmare. Xiana's shadows will stand guard, a silent army ready to defend them from any immediate threats. But our boy knows that's just a band-aid solution, and summons a massive purple chain, sensing a much bigger fish. He knows the moment they turn their backs, the real monster hiding in the wings will move in for the kill. And just like that, a pompous-looking demon with a creepy mask emerges from the mist. Surprised he was found, Ji Yuchuan immediately confronts him, demanding to know if he's the one behind the fog, and what happened to the others. The demon just grins, casually mentioning that yes, he ate them all, and they were absolutely delicious. Ji Yuchuan and Xiana stand their ground as the demon's fog swirls, ready for the inevitable showdown. A colossal, monstrous face forms in the mist above them, declaring that it's now their turn to be devoured. The demon laughs maniacally, boasting that in this fog, he's an absolute god. But our duo is already preparing to strike. Ji Yuchuan just scoffs at the display, wondering aloud if all demons have such ridiculously huge egos, which clearly enrages his opponent. He unleashes a torrent of purple chains, yelling that he's not to be lumped in with that kind of trash. The chains instantly ensnare the massive fog creature, catching the so-called god completely by surprise. At the same time, Xiana readies her shadow weapon, realizing with a start that this enemy has been tailing her for a while. She chides herself for getting too comfortable, and letting her guard down as she prepares to unleash hell. Her shadow scythe materializes and slices clean through the demon's ethereal form with immense power. Caught between the chains and the scythe, the pompous demon's entire fog body evaporates into nothing. But the victory is short-lived as Xiana realizes in horror that her shadow scythe missed, and Ji Yuchuan screams for her to be careful. Before she can react, the demon's glowing red eye materializes right beside her, its form already coalescing from the mist. Tendrils of fog lash out and grab Xiana, who cries out as she's instantly ensnared by the trash-tier demon. The monster reforms completely, trapping them both within its body, and laughing at how moronic they are for trying to attack something made of fog. Suddenly, Ji Yuchuan feels the air being sucked away, and turns to Chelsea, who has appeared beside him, asking if she's affected by the lack of oxygen. She just smirks, smugly explaining that this is the beauty of being a demon. They adapt to any environment, unlike fragile humans. The fog monster gloats about its supreme technique, asking how it feels to struggle for every last breath. As red energy beams rain down, our boy realizes this is just a war of attrition designed to drain his energy and oxygen. Knowing he can't keep this up, he grits his teeth and calls out to Chelsea, ready to put a new plan into action. Chelsea stands before the colossal fog demon, completely unimpressed and ready to show this pompous gasbag what true power looks like. Chelsea finally unleashes her power, declaring she's done being bossed around, and that this trash-tier demon is now her prey. The fog monster just scoffs, sarcastically impressed by her demon contract skills as ice shards harmlessly pass through him. But that was just a distraction. A colossal beam of purple energy erupts from a magic circle above, blasting right through the fog and leaving the demon dumbfounded. The attack completely disperses the fog, revealing the demon's true body, and our boy Ji Yuchuan is already there, telling him there's nowhere left to hide. Before the demon can even react, golden energy threads slam into his face, cracking the precious mask he wears. Ji Yuchuan follows up with a brutal kick, shattering the mask and making the demon scream that he ruined a gift from his lord. Enraged and bleeding, the demon yells that hitting his real body won't stop the fog, and that they're all going to die here anyway. A psychic spear materializes right beside his head as Ji Yuchuan's voice calmly states, "That's not necessarily true." Turns out, our boy was already holding the chain connected to the spear, ready to reel in his catch. Gripping the glowing chain, he tells the demon that humans aren't nearly as weak and ignorant as he thinks. With a vicious grin, our boy starts whipping the psychic chains around like a goddamn hurricane. The pompadour-wearing demon is left completely speechless, unable to comprehend what he's seeing. He realizes this absolute madman is literally creating a vortex to blow away his signature fog ability. And just like that, the suffocating mist begins to dissipate, clearing the battlefield. Lu Yao gasps for air, a wave of relief washing over her as she can finally breathe again. Watching the scene unfold, she's dumbfounded, wondering what the true extent of Ji Chuan's power really is. The demon, knowing he's been utterly defeated, tries to make a run for it, thinking he can just escape back to his lord. But his escape is cut short as a shadowy projectile pierces right through him. A massive, bloody explosion erupts, painting the entire area red. It was Lu Yao's arrow. She stands ready with her bow, as Ji Chuan coldly declares that this time, nothing gets away. With the battle over, our boy Ji Chuan approaches the defeated demon, who's now just a tiny, crying creature. The little demon wails about how a great person like him could be beaten into such a pathetic state. Ji Chuan casually offers the creature to Chelsea, telling her to eat it and absorb its power, but she's utterly disgusted by the idea. The demon panics, screaming that he's weak, but Ji Chuan shuts him up by shoving a psychic chain right into his mouth. A pink-haired woman from the demon squad watches the bizarre scene unfold, completely taken aback by these two. She finally asks Ji Chuan about Chelsea, noting that his contracted demon can also take a human form, but he just shrugs it off. Suddenly, the woman receives an urgent star message, her expression turning serious. Ji Chuan's mind races. He realizes someone else in her squad must have a humanoid demon, and he needs more intel on them fast. The message is a dire warning to evacuate Dorn City immediately because the demons are coming, and then the call cuts out. Before they can even process the news, a colossal foot slams down right in front of them, announcing the arrival of a new nightmare. The scene shifts to a group of desperate survivors, their leader Juarez demanding to know what the hell the exile faction is planning. But it's Ji Chuan and the pink-haired agent, who calmly explains they're a rescue team, pointing out that if they were enemies, everyone would already be dead. Another survivor begs Juarez to listen, insisting they have no other choice but to trust them. With a heavy heart, Juarez clenches his jaw and reluctantly agrees to their terms. But the second he agrees to go, a violent burst of energy erupts from his body, shattering the very ground beneath him. Ji Chuan instantly yanks his partner back, screaming at her to stay away from Juarez, sensing a trap. Vile, black tendrils explode from the survivor's back as strange numbers flash in the air, leaving the rescue team utterly bewildered. The tendrils belong to a horrific flesh amalgam that has just consumed Juarez, coldly stating it still needs 2 more bodies. The monster's tendrils snatch up the other screaming survivors as it eyes our heroes, calling them the perfect final ingredients. As one of the absorbed heads wails in agony, the creature's main consciousness just growls at it to shut up, annoyed by the noise. Shana is baffled, wondering why the victims are still conscious, but our boy asks Chelsea if she can smell the real culprit. Turns out the scent of that trash-tier fog demon is everywhere, making it impossible to pinpoint the true enemy. With no other choice, Ji Chuan makes a split-second decision and lunges forward, leaving his partner dumbfounded. The flesh amalgam thinks he's the target and sends its disgusting tendrils lashing out to intercept him. But our boy is on another level, his golden eye flaring as he effortlessly shreds the monster's limbs. He lands a devastating blow, but it's not on the monster, it's on himself, a move that makes 0 sense. He summons a glowing purple chain, channeling the power of the demon queen Chelsea. Without a moment's hesitation, he plunges the demonic chain straight into his own chest. He screams in agony as the power surges through him, the pain almost unbearable. Xiana can only watch in horror, screaming at him for going rogue with such an insane, self-destructive plan. As the purple energy courses through him, Xiana has a horrifying realization this creature isn't a demon at all. The chain, meant to absorb demonic power, is just causing the flesh amalgam immense pain, confirming her suspicions. Suddenly, the terrifying monster breaks down, crying and wailing for its mommy like a lost child. Ji Chuan just smirks through the pain, explaining to the dumbfounded Shana that this isn't a demon, it's a predator. Meanwhile, outside the city, the situation has escalated dramatically. The rest of the team stumbles upon a gruesome scene where recently turned predator guards have been annihilated. Ba Yin analyzes the bodies, noting that the infection must have happened very recently. Guzera pieces it all together, explaining that these things swarmed out the moment the fog lifted, meaning the fog wasn't to keep them out, but to keep the predators in. Seagrism is completely floored, realizing the fog they fought so hard to dispel was actually protecting them. Lu Yao tries to contact their agents inside, but it's no use, she can't get a signal, leaving Ji Chuan and Xia Na completely isolated. Lu Yao grimly concludes that for the infection to spread this fast, a terrifying level 5 predator must be lurking in the city, and she prays her team doesn't cross its path. But it's too late for prayers back inside. Ji Chuan and Xia Na are sent flying by a monstrous new foe that just crashed the party. The creature slams into the ground with bone-shattering force, kicking up a cloud of debris. It's a grotesque, stitched abomination, and with a feral look, it snarls that it's going to eat them alive. Our boy Ji Yuchuan, ever the analyst, notes that this thing regenerates way too fast for a level 4. But its intelligence is pure trash tier, nowhere near a level 5. He quickly forms a plan, asking Shana if she can lock the monster down, and she confirms she's ready to go. Without a moment's hesitation, Xiana unleashes a volley of her shadow arrows, aiming to pin the beast. The stitched abomination just stands there, dumbfounded, as the shadowy tendrils rocket towards it. Her attack hits dead on, and the creature whines about being tied up, acting like a petulant child. But Ji Yuchuan isn't buying the act, raising his scythe and sneering that he finds its pitiful demon routine absolutely disgusting. With a vicious swing of his scythe, Ji Yuchuan slices right through the abomination's gut. The creature starts wailing like a baby, crying that its belly's been cut open and all the yummy stuff will spill out. But then, a nasty, shark-toothed grin spreads across its face, revealing the childish act was all a lie. It drops the facade entirely, deciding that if pretending doesn't work, it'll just eat them instead, and starts devouring Sha Na's shadow tendrils. Ji Yuchuan is stunned. This thing is consuming the shadow demon, and he realizes its intelligence and abilities are growing in real time. The monster looms over him, mockingly asking if it can eat him too, and our boy knows it's time to stop holding back. He turns to the spectral form of Chelsea beside him, promising her that this monster will be all hers in just a moment. Ji Yuchuan unleashes his power, and the entire street warps into a terrifying domain of red and gold energy. He activates his True Words ability, trapping the monster in a mental prison to force its secrets to unfold. The first memory to surface is a strange one, a simple, sterile blood bag hanging in what looks like a lab. The memory shifts to a hospital bed, revealing a woman who died giving birth to a baby boy. Ji Yuchuan, playing the part of a doctor within the dreamscape, realizes he's witnessing the monster's birth. He smirks, pulling down his mask, confident that he's found its core weakness, its underdeveloped mental strength. To break its spirit, he raises a scalpel, preparing to end the newborn's life and its sins. But suddenly, the supposedly dead mother's hand shoots out and grabs his leg, desperately begging him to stop. With her last bit of strength, she pleads for him to spare her child, revealing his name is An. As Ji Yuchuan processes this, a sinister, shadowy entity with a single glowing eye materializes behind him. Our boy is suddenly paralyzed, completely dumbfounded. He's the Dreamweaver. He should be in control here. The shadowy hijacker fully forms, coldly announcing it will be taking the child for itself. The entire mental prison shatters as the monster, back in its human form, launches a vicious counterattack, turning the tables on our boy. A voice screams in his head, desperately telling the Dreamweaver to disengage his True Words ability as he's blasted by purple energy. The force of the attack sends our boy flying, slamming him into the ground with brutal force. Hez in shock. He can't turn his power off, realizing he's trapped himself in this nightmare. His golden Dreamweaver eye glows uncontrollably, a beacon of his vulnerability. Looking up, he finally sees it. The true form of the predator, An, a grotesque, pulsating mass of flesh. The creature's massive claws descend, as Ji Yuchuan is trapped inside a golden sphere of his own haywire power. A swarm of smaller, ghoulish monsters joins the assault, clawing relentlessly at his flimsy defense. But just as his shield is about to shatter, sinister purple chains erupt from the ground, blocking the fatal blow. Demon Queen Chelsea materializes, casually complaining about the terrible taste of the power she just consumed. With a smug grin, she makes it clear that she's the one in charge now. She casually holds one of the predator guards on a chain, musing that if our boy cooked them, they might actually be edible. Without a second thought, she unleashes a volley of deadly purple spears. The remaining trash-tier monsters are instantly impaled, and Chelsea looks on, completely unimpressed. But suddenly, Xiana appears, weapon drawn, telling the Demon Queen to mind her own damn business. Xiana warns that her shadow has detected a powerful force rushing their way, likely the city's top predators. They don't have much time, and she glances over at Ji Yuchuan, still trapped in his own golden power. It turns out the predator monster morphed into a grotesque tumor after our boy's mental intrusion, and has now stuck to it. Xiana worries about what it'll transform into next, but Chelsea seems more curious than concerned. They form a quick, uneasy alliance. Xiana will check on Ji Yuchuan, while Chelsea holds the line with her chains. Chelsea then gives our boy an ultimatum. If he survives this, she'll finally acknowledge him as a true partner. With the battlefield set, Xiana manifests her shadow weapon, ready for a fight. She muses that the demon Chelsea is just as stubborn as her contractor. A massive swarm of dragon minions approaches, and she questions if her shadow power is enough. Stealing her resolve, she unleashes her abilities, vowing that none shall pass. Meanwhile, inside his own mind, Ji Yuchuan is getting absolutely demolished in a brutal fight. He's completely dumbfounded, realizing the enemy is too fast to predict. A terrifying, shadowy assailant with glowing red eyes descends upon him. The creature lands a devastating kick, sending our boy crashing into the ground. Coughing up blood, Ji Yuchuan is left helpless as his opponent looms over him. He reaches out, trying to get up, but his body has already hit its limit. The shadowy assailant reveals his true form, thinking this new body still needs a bit more breaking in. He looms over our boy, ready to deliver the final, crushing blow. But before he can land the hit, mysterious purple chains erupt from the floor, impaling him instantly. The chains slam down, forming a protective barrier right in front of the downed Ji Yuchuan. And look who it is, Demon Queen Chelsea, calling him useless trash for needing her to save his skin again. Our boy just smirks back, cheekily reminding her that they have a deal, so she can't just let him die. Chelsea just scoffs, warning him that he'd better not forget his end of the bargain. With the immediate threat handled, Ji Yuchuan finally reconnects with his Dreamweaver power, demanding answers for why he was trapped. She explains the enemy's mental power was a two-part trap, a weak outer shell hiding a potent core that corrupted his mindscape. The pieces click into place for Ji Yuchuan, who realizes the shell must be made from the minds of all the humans that monster absorbed. He confirms his suspicion. The core of this nightmare is a predator named An, who's been trapped in this state. A fragmented memory reveals the truth. A shadowy figure declared that an infant was the best cultivation subject and stole the child from him. But before he can process it, the whole mindscape explodes as the enemy retaliates with a massive psychic blast. The shadowy assailant he fought earlier reforms, roaring in agony and vowing that anyone who hurts it must die. It lunges for Ji Yuchuan, but Chelsea intercepts the blow with a single hand, effortlessly stopping the monster in its tracks. Holding our boy close, she sees his golden eye flicker with power as they both prepare for their next move. She orders him to disengage from this mental space, knowing he has the power to break them out. Tapping into his Dreamweaver ability, Ji Yuchuan is surrounded by golden threads of pure mental energy. With a smirk, he unleashes his trump card, a command he calls True Words Disengage. The mental prison shatters, and back in reality, a wave of golden light erupts from our boy, instantly vaporizing the monstrous guards around him. With the fodder gone, Chelsea's purple chains finish cleaning up the mess, leaving Ji Yuchuan and Xiana standing in the aftermath. Our boy smirks, casually telling Xiana he woke up a bit late, and that Chelsea now officially acknowledges her as an ally. Xiana is dumbfounded, realizing he's grown immensely stronger, even reminding her of the overwhelming presence of her old master. Now, all that's left is the main culprit, a pathetic-looking fleshy cocoon twitching on the pavement. Ji Yuchuan reflects that his Dreamweaver ability didn't just break the illusion, it evolved, healing all the damage he and Chelsea sustained. The fleshy pod suddenly begins to crack and split open, something new trying to crawl its way out. It hatches into a grotesque, crying baby demon, screaming in agony as it's born into the world. Taking command, Ji Yuchuan tells Xia Na to contact the rest of the team, assuring her he'll handle this little freak. The demon, knowing it's completely outmatched, makes a desperate crawl for the shadows, trying to escape. It's in full-blown panic mode, realizing all its stored energy was absorbed by our boy and that its only chance is to run for its life. But just as the baby demon thinks it's found an escape route, a voice cuts through the air, stopping it dead in its tracks. Before it can even react, a boot slams into its head, sent flying by a mysterious newcomer who's been watching this whole time. The little monster starts groveling, begging its daddy for forgiveness, and insisting it was an obedient child who devoured 5 million people. But its pleas fall on deaf ears as the figure brings his foot down with a sickening crunch, splattering the creature across the pavement. Turns out, this new player is the demon's real master, and he coldly states that he absolutely despises liars. He calmly picks up a glowing red crystal from the remains, musing over their agreement of 5 million souls. Examining the gem, he notes that they seem to be too short, his swirling void-like face staring intently at the prize. Suddenly, he senses a presence down the alley and calls out, asking why they're hiding in the shadows instead of saying hello. It's our boy Ji Yuchuan and Chelsea, and the mastermind greets the Demon Queen by name, revealing a history between them. The two stand ready, realizing they've just stumbled upon the true puppet master behind this entire catastrophe. Ji Yuchuan's eyes narrow as he realizes this is the exact same shadowy figure he saw lurking in the Predator's memories. He asks Chelsea if this scourge of Dorn City is an old acquaintance, but she just scoffs, refusing to acknowledge such a despicable demon. The Grimoire Master feigns being heartbroken, sarcastically claiming his own evil deeds don't even hold a candle to the Demon Queen's. He then conjures the wailing souls of Chelsea's past victims, all screaming about how she led them to eternal damnation. With a twisted sense of pity, he offers to save our boy from his demonic partner's influence. Ji Chuan, however, is completely unimpressed and just lets out a dismissive snort. He smirks at Chelsea, teasing that her popularity in hell must be off the charts if every demon they meet wants her dead. Livid at being ignored, the Grimoire Master rages, asking if they're going to disrespect him just like his dead minion did. In a blink, he teleports right into Ji Chuan's personal space, whispering a promise to kill him. But our boy is already a step ahead, slamming his foot down and unleashing a counterattack before the villain can even land a blow. The Grimoire Master scoffs, telling our boy he could have had a painless death if Head just stayed put. But before he can finish his monologue, he's dumbfounded to find his hand snared by Ji Chuan's golden threads. With the tables turned, Ji Chuan summons a massive scythe, telling the demon that if it hates humans so much, it should just leave. He unleashes a devastating swing infused with Chelsea's purple energy, roaring for the trash-tier villain to go back to hell. But the Grimoire Master is slippery, dissolving into a swarm of ethereal purple butterflies to dodge the lethal blow. He reforms a safe distance away, looking more amused than scared, and decides things are finally getting interesting. Cracking open his demonic codex, he declares he's joining the fun, revealing his power to record and copy any attack he sees. And just like that, he fires off a blast of purple demonic energy, a cheap knockoff of the very power Ji Chuan just used. Our boy throws up a golden web-like shield, easily deflecting the copied attack without breaking a sweat. Ji Chuan just clicks his tongue in annoyance, realizing he's dealing with yet another pain-in-the-neck opponent. But the Grimoire Master just keeps pulling out more copied tricks, this time a barrage of ice crystals, which Ji Chuan angrily shatters, yelling that he doesn't have time for this. He launches himself downwards, scythe ready to cleave the demon in two, determined to end this annoying fight. The Grimoire Master just smirks, noting that it's no surprise a follower of Chelsea would be this persistent. As the scythe comes down, the demon casually raises a hand, summoning a swirling vortex of dark energy that completely nullifies the attack. With a sigh, he calls our boy just as annoying as his master, and pulls out his next copied weapon, a bundle of lit dynamite. Ji Chuan is left utterly speechless. Of all the high-tier abilities this freak could copy, he chose something so ridiculously low-tech. Before he can even process it, the dynamite goes off in a massive explosion, engulfing him completely. The blast sends our boy flying, slamming him hard against the wall as he struggles to recover from the sheer absurdity of the attack. Floating amidst the smoke, the Grimoire Master scoffs that this is no challenge at all, his codex glowing as he summons a grotesque, fleshy weapon. He looms over the stunned Ji Chuan, declaring that he'll be the one to personally end his life. But just as the blow is about to land, Chelsea materializes, roaring that no one dares judge her kin. She effortlessly blocks the attack, her demonic power surging and pushing the Grimoire Master back. The demon just clicks his tongue, annoyed by the interruption, when suddenly more uninvited guests arrive. It's Lu Yao and another agent, who calmly tell a dumbfounded Ji Chuan that they'll take it from here. The Grimoire Master scoffs, realizing he's being cornered by a whole new squad of freaks. As if on cue, Seagrism drops from the sky, yelling for the rookie to be thankful his savior has arrived. But the Grimoire Master isn't fazed in the slightest, simply opening his codex to counter this new threat. Before Seagrism can even land, his teammates shout a warning about some kind of powder being deployed. Seagrism is completely caught off guard, his cocky expression turning to one of pure shock. Turns out, the powder wasn't just for the enemy. The entire street is now frozen in place, a perfect trap. Lu Yao realizes this guy is on another level. Her only thought is to use her spatial powers to get everyone out. But the Grimoire Master couldn't care less, noting that the rare full moon means his time is almost up. With a casual farewell, he dissolves into a swarm of purple butterflies, leaving everyone dumbfounded. His escape isn't quiet though, leaving behind a small explosion of energy right in the middle of the frozen squad. The backlash hits Lu Yao hard, and she immediately starts coughing up blood from the strain. Ba Yin rushes to her side, but she explains her plan to teleport them all failed because the demon's freeze was just too strong to break. Our boy Ji Chuan pieces it together. The demon never showed any killing intent, which means he was just toying with them. The gluttonous demon boy suddenly points out that something is seriously wrong with Ji Chuan's demon. And he's right, Chelsea is absolutely losing her mind, consumed by a furious purple aura and screaming that they have to kill him. Her uncontrollable rage begins to manifest, summoning colossal, chain-linked energy constructs that blot out the sky. The sheer force of Chelsea's demonic energy cracks the very pavement beneath their feet. Lu Yao grabs our boy, frantically telling him that the demon must have triggered this, and he needs to use his bond of contract to calm her down. But Ji Chuan is completely lost, having absolutely no idea what a bond of contract even is. Lu Yao realizes this is a disaster. With Chelsea on a rampage, The hot-headed Seagrism is bound to charge in and get himself killed. She can't believe it. How can he be a demon contractor and not know the most basic control method? This is going to be trouble. Meanwhile, Chelsea is screaming for the Grimoire Master's head, her rage boiling over as she searches for the one who provoked her. And just as predicted, Seagrism, ever the loudmouth, jumps right in, taunting the enraged demon queen about property damage. Chelsea's eyes narrow, locking onto this new fool with pure, unadulterated killing intent. She effortlessly swats his attack aside with one hand, telling the trash-tier punk to get lost before she crushes him. A massive explosion sends Seagrism flying, and Ba Yin can only scream in horror as his leader is utterly demolished. But just as Chelsea is about to hunt down her next victim, Guzera emerges, his green energy flaring as he seethes with rage. He unleashes a storm of energy spikes, screaming that she dared to hurt his big brother, Seagrism. Before the attack can land, a flash of golden light slices through the air, deflecting the entire volley. It's our boy, Ji Yuchuan, who has jumped in to shield the rampaging Chelsea with his Dreamweaver ability. Guzera and Xia Na are completely dumbfounded, yelling at him for protecting a demon that has clearly gone berserk. But Ji Yuchuan just fires back, telling them that what happens to his demon is his business and his alone. He turns to face Chelsea, trying to calm her down, but she just snarls at him to get out of her way. The demon queen's claws, crackling with purple energy, slam into his golden shield with immense force. He struggles to hold on, pouring all his power into the barrier, while desperately yelling for Chelsea to come to her senses. But his pleas are useless. She just roars back, absolutely refusing to be ordered around by anyone. With a guttural roar, Chelsea unleashes a devastating wave of purple energy, completely overwhelming our boy's defenses. The force sends Ji Yuchuan flying, and he crashes hard onto the pavement, coughing up blood from the sheer impact. He realizes with dawning horror that he can't suppress her mental power anymore. She's grown unbelievably strong. Xia Na screams at him that his demon is out of control, but he just snarls back, telling her to run if she's scared. Facing the rampaging demon queen, he vows to wake her up, even if it means exhausting her until she can't fight. Done playing defense, Ji Yuchuan's golden eye flares to life as he unleashes the full power of his Dreamweaver. His ability manifests as a colossal, gaping maw, its throat glowing with his golden energy, ready to devour Chelsea's power. But Chelsea is pure rage, screaming that anyone who stands in her way is going to die. No exceptions. As their powers collide, Xia Na panics, realizing Seagrism is still in the blast zone and they need to get him out. Suddenly, their team leader Lu Yao appears, using her spatial powers to teleport Seagrism away, assuring them he's safe with Ba Yin. Lu Yao decides to pull everyone out, realizing this power clash will only destroy them both, while she silently questions what kind of monster Ji Yuchuan has become. But the demon queen is lost to reason, unleashing a furious wave of power as she screams for him to get out of her way. Our boy grits his teeth, his golden threads straining against the raw demonic force as he desperately calls out her name. With a final, desperate roar, he pours all his will into his golden eye, screaming for the real Chelsea to wake up. His Dreamweaver maw finally consumes her rampaging dragon form, trying to sever her from the overwhelming rage. The two immense powers collide and implode, creating a volatile sphere of energy that threatens to vaporize the entire area. Suddenly, the demon queen finds herself standing on solid ground, the sounds of battle completely gone. She looks up, completely bewildered, wondering why the fight just stopped and where on earth she is. Turns out, she's been dragged into his mental world, a hellscape dominated by two colossal demonic statues. A cold dread washes over her as she realizes the horrifying truth. She's trapped inside his nightmare and can't escape. Without a moment's hesitation, one of the demonic statues brings its massive axe down on the demon queen. Her head hits the ground with a sickening thud, her body slumping over, lifeless. For a second, there's only darkness in her eyes as a single tear traces a path down her cheek. But then, her pupil returns. A flicker of purple in the void as she's overcome with confusion. She's dumbfounded, realizing her head is somehow back on her shoulders, completely intact. Her relief lasts for a split second before she sees the executioner raising its weapon to strike again. A flash of memory reveals our boy, Ji Yuchuan, orchestrating this entire twisted cycle of resurrection. The demon queen finally understands with dawning horror that she's trapped in an endless loop. She's forced to relive a past trauma, watching her own followers chant for her sacrifice. Watching from the shadows of her mind, our boy can't help but feel a shred of pity for her. A shadowy figure emerges in her mind, taunting her about her destiny as a sacrifice. The executioner echoes the sentiment, sneering that her only purpose is to bleed for them. The endless cycle of death and agony has completely broken the demon queen's spirit. With tears streaming down her face, all she wants is for the suffering to finally end. And just like before, the massive axe comes swinging down for the kill. But this time, a brilliant golden shield materializes out of nowhere, stopping the blade cold. Our boy Ji Yuchuan has arrived, remarking that she's in a sorry state, and he got there just in time. Elsewhere, in a dark and foreboding castle, the true puppet master watches these events unfold. The grimoire master flips through his demonic book, annoyed that Chelsea's fate has been rewritten. He closes a coffin wrapped in thorns, ominously promising that she won't be so lucky next time. The grimoire master muses that to summon a demon of this caliber, a sacrifice of millions of souls was necessary. He channels a massive surge of power into a thorn-wrapped coffin, commanding its occupant to wake up. Inside a forgotten chamber, the ancient coffin begins to stir as red petals fall like drops of blood. A voice echoes in the darkness, calling to demon rank number 9, Mordek, telling him the master needs his help. The ancient demon's eyes snap open, his slumber finally broken by his master's desperate call. Back in the dreamscape, Ji Yuchuan stands over Chelsea, having dispelled the immediate threat with his golden shield. She slowly opens her eyes, completely broken, asking who he is and if he's just another person here to kill her. Her hopeless words seem to strike a nerve with our boy, whose glowing golden eye flickers with something other than power. Suddenly, a memory flashes through his mind, a vision of himself as a child, lying helpless on a gurney. Turns out, he once asked that very same question, seeing his own past reflected in the Demon Queen's despair. Seeing her despair, our boy tries to get through to her, insisting that he's not an enemy, he's an ally. But before his words can sink in, his golden Dreamweaver shield is utterly shattered by a brutal, unseen force. A new nightmare appears, a hulking executioner in a horned helmet, swinging a ridiculously oversized axe right at him. Realizing he's outmatched, Ji Yuchuan desperately yells for Chelsea to snap out of it, knowing they're in deep trouble if she doesn't. He dodges a devastating swing, understanding that this new monster is a guardian of her broken mind. He keeps screaming her name, trying to break through the fog of her trauma before they're both erased. Turns out, he's using his Dreamweaver power to directly invade her mind, wrapping her in his golden threads to force her back to reality. But Chelsea's eyes just glow with empty purple light. She's heard him but doesn't care, whispering that she just wants everything to end. Her despair is so absolute that her entire dream world begins to violently crumble and collapse around them. As the abyss opens up, Ji Yuchuan has a chilling epiphany. The Demon King's fate is to be reborn, again and again, in an endless cycle of suffering. The hulking executioner roars that anyone who dares disturb this ritual is a dead man walking. With a deafening crash, its axe smashes the ground, but our boy is nowhere to be seen. The impact kicks up a massive cloud of dust, obscuring the entire battlefield. Turns out, Ji Yuchuan dove in front of Chelsea at the last second, taking the full force of the blow for her. He grimaces in pain, admitting it's been a while since he's been wounded by an attack made of true words. Still, he manages a cocky smirk, telling Chelsea she's going to owe him big time for this rescue. She's just dumbfounded, asking why he would save her when her death should be a cause for celebration. Tears stream down her face as she calls herself the source of all evil, completely lost in her self-hatred. Ji Yuchuan desperately screams at her to snap out of it, warning that they're both doomed if she stays trapped in this nightmare. In a final, intimate plea, he begs her not to stay in this world of suffering any longer. His words find it, and something awakens in Chelsea's eyes as the runes of her power flare to life. Suddenly, the horned executioner is blasted back by a massive wave of pure demonic energy. Chelsea scoffs, asking our boy what kind of nonsense he's spouting. She declares herself the mightiest demon, far too powerful to be trapped by some trash-tier illusion. Back in the real world, the golden sphere of Ji Yuchuan's Dreamweaver ability shatters the mental landscape. His teammates are waiting, with Sigrism already whining for Xiana to go easy on his wounds. Lu Yao remarks on the sheer scale of the mental power she can feel, admitting an S-grade Esper like him is on another level. Just then, the fabric of reality ripples as Ji Yuchuan emerges, shouting for Chelsea to follow him. He grabs her, telling her to stop dawdling, but she just huffs that he should be thanking her for the assist. And with their hands clasped, he pulls the Demon Queen out of the collapsing nightmare. But before they can celebrate, Chelsea gets unnervingly close to our boy, as Lu Yao and Bai Yin watch on, completely baffled. She scoffs at their confusion, explaining this is just the highest form of courtesy among demons, leaving Bai Yin utterly dumbfounded. Lu Yao cuts in, saying now isn't the time to relax because headquarters has just sent over some critical new intel. She reveals the demon they fought isn't a ranked one, but an ancient entity that's been lurking on Earth since before the Red Rain calamity. Bai Yin pieces it together, wondering what kind of endgame the creature is planning by sacrificing so many human souls. Chelsea cuts straight to the point with a single, chilling word: resurrection. She explains that reviving a powerful demon requires a massive toll of souls, and that's exactly what their enemy is doing. Shana is horrified, recalling that the predator demon claimed to have devoured over 4 million people, a number that even impresses Guzera. Ba Yin then warns Ji Yuchuan that he hasn't mastered the bond of contract, which could cause his own teammates to turn on him. Hearing this, Lu Yao makes a command decision. She's splitting the team to handle the aftermath, leaving Ba Yin with a special assignment. Ba Yin informs a dumbfounded Ji Yuchuan that he's being sent to a certain teacher Han Yu to finally learn the bond of contract. 3 days later, they arrive in the slum district of Santenberg City, and our boy can't believe such a trash-tier place exists in the human capital. Ba Yin explains the city's 3 protective shields, with the outermost layer being the civilian district, whose residents are grimly nicknamed alarm bells. Chelsea scoffs from his shoulder, remarking that humans are cut from the same cloth as demons, using their own people as disposable shields to buy time. She wonders if they're really going to learn from a lowly alarm bell, but Ba Yin clarifies that teacher Han Yu simply disagrees with the inner city's rotten politics. After a short walk through the dilapidated streets, Ba Yin announces that they've finally arrived at their destination. They stop in front of a rundown apartment, number 502, which Ba Yin confirms is where their mysterious teacher lives. Before they can even knock, the door creaks open on its own, catching them both by surprise. Ba Yin's face goes pale with shock, a flicker of fear flashing in his eyes as he stares into the dark apartment. He suddenly starts panicking, urging Ji Yuchuan inside and warning him they'll be in deep trouble if they're late, leaving our boy utterly confused by the sudden nonsense. Before Ji Yuchuan can even process what's happening, slimy purple tentacles shoot out from the apartment and wrap around him. Hes hoisted into the air as Ba Yin just stands there watching, not even flinching as our boy's shoe tumbles to the ground. Ba Yin lets out a huge sigh of relief, as if he was expecting this trash-tier welcome from their new teacher. Suddenly, the tentacles grab him too, but he just smiles nervously, glad that they're the only ones being targeted. Hes sweating profusely, trying to play it cool but Hes clearly terrified out of his mind. The door slams shut, and Ba Yin's voice echoes from inside, hilariously begging the teacher to at least grab Ji Yuchuan's other shoe. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to an investigation at the crude stone mine in Dorn City, which has been completely cordoned off. Lu Yao gets a report from Xiana, learning that the mine was illegally using prisoners as slave labor for a long time. He immediately pieces it together, realizing this isn't just about profit, it means there's a traitor deep within the alliance. Lu Yao orders her to protect the survivors at all costs, knowing they might be the only witnesses who can expose the rat. Lu Yao knows this conspiracy runs deep, and orders Xiana to compile all the intel for the president immediately. The scene shifts to a quiet apartment complex, where we find our other boy's new teacher and classmates. Ba Yin is complaining to a girl named Sister Mei Mei, begging her to stop using dirty tricks when they spar. She just smirks, saying her grandpa taught her to exploit weaknesses, and men are full of them. Suddenly, their teacher's energy tentacle appears, angry at being called a weird geezer by his own student. He scoffs, unimpressed by their bickering while his other students are fighting for their lives. Turns out, this old man is their new teacher, and he's thinking to himself that Ba Yin is getting stronger every day. He then muses about Ji Yuchuan, acknowledging his S-class psychic power and hoping he can last a while longer. It's clear he's the one who trapped them, seeing their struggle as the perfect entertainment for his boring life. Back in the maze, Chelsea is furious, realizing they're in a space where all abilities are nullified. It's basically cheating. Our boy Ji Yuchuan mutters to Chelsea that the box from before has shown up again. And sure enough, sitting on a pedestal is a cardboard box with a troll-tier note from their teacher telling them to open it. A quick flashback reminds us that the old geezer promised these surprise boxes would help them clear the maze faster. Chelsea is absolutely fuming about this whole situation, but Ji Yuchuan tells her to calm down and take it one step at a time. So they continue their trek through the endless, soul-crushing gray corridors of the maze. Suddenly, Chelsea's eyes light up as she spots something and calls out Ji Yuchuan's name. She's found another one of the so-called surprise boxes mentioned on the sign at the entrance. This one has another goofy picture of their teacher, practically begging them to open it. Seeing it looks ordinary, Chelsea reaches for it, but our boy immediately tells her to stop. He asks if she's worried it's a trap, but she fires back that if they're too cautious, they'll be stuck in this hellhole forever. Ignoring his warning, Chelsea opens the box and finds a strange card inside. The card is marked with a single, ominous symbol, a crossed-out eye. The instant she touches it, a blast of purple energy erupts, and Ji Yuchuan can only shout her name. She collapses in agony, screaming that her eyes are burning and she's been blinded. Just then, 2 creepy jester sprites pop into existence, cheerfully congratulating them for opening a debuff box. They explain the twisted rules. 15 of the 20 boxes are traps, and collecting 10 debuff cards means you're stuck here forever. However, there's a single key hidden in one of the boxes that will grant them their freedom. With a final wave, the sprites vanish, leaving the duo to grapple with their new, hellish reality. After recovering, Chelsea asks what they should do now, and our boy Stone Cold tells her they'll keep opening boxes, but she has to do it. She's furious, thinking he's trying to weaken her, but he just explains they have no idea what dangers lie ahead and must be smart about who takes the hit. He explains his cold logic. Since she's already weakened, one of them needs to stay at full fighting strength to handle whatever comes next. She's taken aback, but has to admit that if their roles were reversed, she'd make the exact same ruthless choice. Fine, she agrees, but on one condition: he has to guarantee her safety, binding them with a chain of purple energy as a contract. Our boy agrees without a moment's hesitation, his eyes filled with grim determination. And so begins the hellish grind, with Chelsea opening box after box, only to be hit with debuff after debuff, her frustration mounting with each failure. Finally, she snaps, absolutely livid that he's just watching her get toyed with by this twisted maze. She screams that every single box is a trap, convinced this human never intended to let them out, but Ji Yuchuan knows the truth. She's hit 9 debuffs. Realizing one more will trap her forever, he decides he can't let her open the last one and steps forward to take the risk himself. He opens the box, and inside isn't another debuff, but a small dagger and a mysterious white card. His eyes widen, completely dumbfounded by this unexpected find. The card reveals the dagger's true purpose, a weapon to kill his demon partner if she ever turns on him. Chelsea demands to know what he found, and he simply tells her it's a dagger, hiding the card's sinister message. She scoffs, thinking the maze is just toying with them, and desperately urges him to find the real key so they can escape. Without another word, Ji Yuchuan continues walking through the labyrinth. They quickly come across another box, and Chelsea nervously asks if he's found something. He opens it to find a dark cloak, a golden key, and yet another one of those damn notes. This new message is pure temptation, telling him to use the key and cloak to abandon his partner and become the sole victor. Growing suspicious of his silence, Chelsea asks if he's been hit with a debuff that prevents him from speaking. A faint smirk appears on his face as he finally pieces together the true nature of this twisted trial. He turns to her, completely ignoring the temptation to betray her, and calmly announces that they've found the key. Chelsea is overjoyed, urging him to get them out of this damned place now that they have the key. But before they can take a single step, a burst of confetti erupts, and 2 creepy jester dolls pop into existence. The sprites congratulate them on clearing the maze, sarcastically acting like they've been completely outsmarted. One of them leans forward, announcing that the fun is only just beginning. Turns out, the maze was just a warm-up, and now they're forced into a game of truth or dare, leaving them both dumbfounded. Meanwhile, their old teacher watches from the sidelines, taking a drag from his cigarette and muttering that the real show is finally starting. The jester lays out the rules. They have to draw cards and answer questions honestly to remove their debuffs. It then leans in close to our boy, whispering a grim warning that something terrible will happen if they dare to lie. Ji Yuchuan doesn't even flinch, coolly stating that he has nothing to hide and just wants his vision restored. The jester immediately turns the tables, asking Chelsea a bombshell question. Is she planning to take over Ji Yuchuan's body? Without missing a beat, Chelsea admits she used to have such plans, but now she considers our boy kin and will protect him. The jester sarcastically calls her affection touching, but Chelsea just tells it to cut the crap and remove her debuffs already. The creature reminds her that her partner still has a question to answer, and Ji Yuchuan just sighs, ready to get this farce over with. It then presents the cards, asking him a simple but deadly question. Did he lie to his partner inside the maze? Our boy draws a card, a thoughtful look on his face as he considers the trap laid before him. With a sly smirk, he declares that, according to the principle of conversation, he technically didn't lie at all. Both Chelsea and the jester are completely dumbfounded, asking what kind of bizarre human law that is. He gives a simple example, explaining that not telling the whole truth isn't the same as telling an outright lie. His logic is so airtight that Chelsea and the jester are left speechless, unable to find a flaw in his argument. The jester has to concede, muttering that he's cunning, clearly disappointed it couldn't catch him in a lie. The jester explains that since they are each other's judges, it's time for the next phase of the trial. It turns to Chelsea, whose debuff has just been removed, revealing that our boy has some secrets he kept while she was blind. Ji Yuchuan calmly explains he didn't mention the failed contracts or the fog cloak because he knew her reckless nature would get them killed. He adds that with her blind and debuffed, telling her would have caused useless panic, but she cuts him off, agreeing their priority is just to escape. With her trust secured, Chelsea declares to the jester that he didn't lie, and the little creature happily agrees to let them pass. With a snap of its fingers, the jester fully removes the lingering debuffs from Chelsea, its magic glowing around her. It then congratulates them on clearing the level, as the entire room begins to dissolve into a flurry of magical cards. Both Ji Yuchuan and Chelsea stand unfazed as their surroundings warp, ready for whatever this twisted game throws at them next. They find themselves facing 3 identical doors, all marked life, and are told only one is the true path out. Chelsea tries to sense the correct path with her demonic energy but finds nothing, while our boy realizes this is a test of wits, not power. Chelsea, ever the gambler, suggests they just pick a door each and let fate decide, but our boy immediately tells her to hold on. He touches one of the doors, and it reacts with a strange blue energy, confirming his suspicion that this isn't a game of chance. Suddenly, a sign from their old teacher appears, cheekily congratulating them and revealing the maze is full of surprise boxes he's prepared. Ji Yuchuan realizes the game master knew he'd conceal information, which perfectly exploited Chelsea's reckless nature, lamenting their poor teamwork. Meanwhile, Chelsea is wrestling with her own inner demons, shadowy voices telling her she's alone and can't trust anyone. But the Demon Queen has no time for self-pity, telling the voices to scram and stop disturbing her progress. Deciding she's done with puzzles, she tries to brute force her way through the wall with her spear. She unleashes a furious slash, a rainbow of demonic energy arcing through the air as she screams for the obstacle to get lost. But her attack does nothing. Instead, she's suddenly ensnared by glowing golden tendrils, leaving her completely stunned. Turns out, the wall was actually a colossal stone hand, and her attack just woke the damn thing up. The Demon Queen finds herself completely bound by a familiar purple energy, her own attack utterly useless. She grits her teeth in fury, recognizing this is the exact same trash tier ability that caught her before. It dawns on her that the designer of this test knows her inside and out, and is deliberately pushing all her buttons. But a voice cuts through her rage. It's Ji Yuchuan, calmly telling her not to be so impatient. He's on the other side of the wall, explaining that her partner is likely going through the exact same frustrating ordeal. A disembodied voice then welcomes the two soulmates to the 3rd level of their twisted trial. Meanwhile, back at the Santenberg Alliance HQ, the ripples of our boy's actions are already being felt. Lu Yao reports directly to the president, recommending Ji Yuchuan for the elite Heaven's Wrath squad for his work in Dorn City. The president, Lu Bingtian, silently reviews the file, mulling over the name of this mysterious newbie. He voices his concern, noting that Ji Yuchuan has been making some serious power plays and questioning if he can really be trusted. Lu Yao argues that their interests are aligned for now, and if handled right, Ji Yuchuan will become their most powerful weapon. But Lu Bingtian is skeptical, immediately bringing up the demon that went berserk back in Dorn City. She's already a step ahead, revealing she's arranged for him to learn the bond of contract to prevent any future incidents. A slow smirk spreads across Lu Bingtian's face. Now this is a plan he can get behind. Back in the maze, our boy is facing a replica of Chelsea, who zips around him with her deadly purple chains. He realizes the whole thing is a setup. He has to defeat her with his own powers suppressed, using only the items he's found. It's an all-or-nothing gamble on a fog cloak for stealth and a cursed dagger that promises a one-hit kill. The Chelsea replica unleashes a devastating chain attack, which he barely dodges as it obliterates the wall behind him. Before he can even catch his breath, the replica appears right behind him, having seen through his cloak, and sneers that she's found him. The chain wraps tight around his throat in an instant, and our boy is left choking on his own blood, completely outmaneuvered. As the chain tightens, Chelsea mocks him for trying to run, but our boy just grits his teeth through the pain. He suddenly lunges forward, retorting that running was never part of the plan. With a brutal thrust, he drives the cursed dagger straight into her gut, catching her completely off guard. It was all a setup. He let her think he was at his limit, creating the perfect opening to declare his victory. The replica vanishes in a flash of purple energy, the one-hit kill dagger now embedded in the wall behind her. A voice echoes in the chamber, and it's the real Chelsea, admitting she's surprised he actually took down her replica. Our boy plays it cool, brushing it off as luck before pointing out that she seems to have some wounds of her own. She scoffs at his deflection, telling him to cut the crap because he's in just as bad of shape. Turns out, it wasn't a replica at all. Chelsea herself was testing him, thinking about how cautious he is, and how long it took to find an opening. Just as their standoff intensifies, the entire chamber begins to shake and crumble around them. Chelsea starts to panic, screaming at Ji Yuchuan that the entire dimension is collapsing around them. But before they can react, a mysterious old man appears, chiding the two troublemakers for causing so much chaos. He casually explains that they've trashed his soul space so badly that even its demonic guardian can't hold it together anymore. With a simple gesture, the old master unleashes a wave of blue energy, effortlessly stabilizing the crumbling dimension. Our boy recognizes the man, who congratulates him for successfully conquering the soul maze. Now that the test is over, the teacher gets down to business, asking if they've figured out the first requirement for their contract. Ji Yuchuan and Chelsea exchange a look, both realizing the answer at the same time. They had to learn to trust each other. The old master smirks, satisfied with their answer, and announces that it's time to move on to the final stage. Their next trial is laid bare. Survive for 10 minutes inside a maelstrom of pure demonic energy to forge their contract bonds for good. Without a shred of fear, Ji Yuchuan and Chelsea declare they're ready for whatever he throws at them. A creepy jester doll pops into existence, announcing the start of the trial as it hurls a sphere of pure demonic energy. The orb screams towards Chelsea, who braces for the 10-minute onslaught. The old teacher lights a cigarette, settling in to watch the show, figuring he has some time to kill. But just as he relaxes, a flash of pink energy, Chelsea's dragon form, zips past him in a panic. He's dumbfounded to see the trial already over, with Ji Yuchuan standing alone amidst the swirling energy. Turns out, our boy absorbed all the power for himself, and the teacher realizes that with their ulterior motives, true trust was never on the table. He just sighs, utterly disappointed in the kids these days and their predictable backstabbing. With a surge of his own immense power, the old man decides it's time to teach them a lesson personally. Ji Yuchuan stands transformed, basking in the raw, demonic energy he just stole. The old teacher is taken aback, sensing a mental energy so intense it's almost unbelievable. He puts two and two together, realizing the brat really did absorb all of his partner's demonic power. The two face off, the air crackling with the tension between master and treacherous student. But when Ji Yuchuan lunges, the teacher blocks his punch like it's child's play. He lands a solid gut punch of his own, chiding our boy that sneaking up on an old man is just plain rude. Sent flying, Ji Yuchuan summons his massive demonic scythe, ready for round two. The teacher, however, effortlessly summons a colossal wall of ice crystals, shattering the attack completely. It's time to get serious. He reveals his own self-created martial art, the primordial chaos 12 forms. With a flick of his wrist, he summons a massive bagua seal, preparing to show his student what real power looks like. The old man smirks, wondering if our boy is a genius or a monster, but either way, it's time to stretch his old legs. Elsewhere, his other students are getting antsy, having heard nothing from their master. Ba Yin asks Sister Mei Mei to do a divination to check on Ji Yuchuan's fate, and she casually agrees. She pulls out her divination slips, ready to see what the future holds for the new recruit. The result is grim. It speaks of a fish swimming peacefully, completely unaware of the net closing in around it. Mei Mei concludes it's a terrible draw, meaning the master is about to give him a serious beatdown. Ba Yin muses that the real terrifying thing isn't the maze they went through, but the master's bone-crushing martial arts. Back in the fight, the teacher unleashes a torrent of blue energy, flowing around him like a tidal wave. He slams a palm right into Ji Yuchuan's chest, telling him that his impatience is going to cost him dearly. But our boy is tougher than that, gritting his teeth as he summons Chelsea's purple chains to trap his old master. The old teacher just scoffs, admitting the move wasn't bad, but it's still trash tier compared to him. Ji Yuchuan is dumbfounded. He poured everything into that attack and it's not even making a dent. With a flick of his wrist, the teacher effortlessly flips out of the chains, calling our boy a complete greenhorn. Before Ji Yuchuan can even react, he's trapped in a glowing blue formation, energy surging through him. The sheer power is overwhelming, and he can feel his consciousness starting to fade under the strain. His teacher lands gracefully, not even breaking a sweat while Ji Yuchuan is getting absolutely fried. The old man just casually cracks his neck, muttering about how kids these days have no patience. He looks down at his student's crumpled form with a sigh of disappointment. Ji Yuchuan is out cold on the floor, the lesson clearly over for today. The teacher observes the pair, noting their distrustful bond and fearing their contract is too fragile to last. The scene shifts to a fiery hellscape, the domain of the true mastermind. The Grimoire Master reports to his lord, admitting his failure to gather enough sacrifices for Mordak's revival. His master, a being he served for millennia, unleashes a wave of dark energy as punishment. Writhing in agony, the Grimoire Master reveals he saw Chelsea, who has foolishly contracted a weak human, reducing her power to a tenth of its former glory. The Demon Lord seems amused by this news, casually swirling a glass of what looks like blood. He decides to be merciful this one time, overlooking the failure in Dorn City but warning against any future screw-ups. The Grimoire Master, relieved, is then ordered to bring Mordak to him. It's time to advance to the next stage of their grand plan. With his subordinate gone, the Demon Lord smirks, his thoughts turning to Chelsea. He reveals his true form, a powerful horned demon, and eagerly anticipates the look on her face when they finally meet again. Meanwhile, back in the human world, we cut to the imposing headquarters of the Heaven's Wrath organization. Inside, A holographic message pops up from Ba Yin, who cheerfully informs Ji Yuchuan about a little something he forgot to mention. Turns out, visiting his teacher's soul space slapped our boy with an unlucky debuff, and Ba Yin only tells him this 3 days later. We flash back to 3 days prior, with Ji Yuchuan scoping out the heavily guarded underground demon lab, trying to figure out his next move. As he's lost in thought, Chelsea suddenly pops up right next to him with 2 massive ice cream cones, completely breaking his concentration. Startled, our boy stumbles right into her, sending one of the precious ice creams flying through the air. The yellow scoop lands with a perfect splat right on his head, and he is absolutely not having it. He's left sitting there, covered in sticky dessert, while Chelsea just watches on with her remaining cone. Ji Yuchuan glares, convinced she planned the whole thing, while she desperately tries to stifle her laughter. After a moment, she clears her throat and offers to clean up the mess for him, but instead of a simple water spell, she unleashes a blast of ice shards, confirming his suspicions that this unlucky debuff is going to be a real pain. Chelsea is amazed as her ice spell suddenly fizzles out, turning back into a harmless wisp of water. She then cheekily offers to warm things up for him, but our boy, frozen solid, can only mouth some choice words her way. Later, still shivering from the ice attack, he lets out a massive sneeze. Cursing his terrible luck, he decides a hot bath is the only way to warm up. He stumbles into the nearest bathhouse, completely missing the sign. Unbeknownst to him, his bad luck has just guided him straight into the women's changing room. Inside, Lu Yao and Xiana are already soaking, discussing why they decided to come for a late-night bath. They both agree the hot spring is incredible and decide they should bring the rest of the team tomorrow. Xiana then voices her concern, wondering if Ji Yuchuan and his demon are even capable of passing their teacher's next exam. Lu Yao immediately teases her about being worried, but Xiana quickly denies it, claiming he's just a liability who might slow them down. Just as they're relaxing, a sudden splash startles Xiana, who immediately panics. Lu Yao points to the disturbance, and Xiana freaks out, thinking some unclean spirit is lurking in the water with them. Trying to be the brave leader, Lu Yao tells her not to worry, guessing it's probably just a towel floating by. But then, a dark figure erupts from the water, sending them both into a screaming panic. Turns out, it's just our boy Ji Yuchuan, who surfaces while lamenting how weak his body has become. He finally notices the 2 dumbfounded women, and calmly asks if they'd care for an explanation. Before he can say another word, he's branded a pervert and sent flying out of the bathhouse with extreme prejudice. Turns out, this whole mess happened right after he spent 2 agonizing days sorting through a mountain of files under Chelsea's watchful eye. But the grunt work paid off. He found a purchase agreement linking the underground lab to Rose City and the mysterious Shadowless Church. He pushes that thought aside for later, just in time for his old teacher to come crashing down on him, ready to start the next phase of his brutal training. The old teacher lunges, but our boy Ji Yuchuan dodges with impossible speed, leaving the old man dumbfounded. He realizes the kid isn't just fast, he's perfectly copying his own signature void step technique after seeing it just once. The teacher just chuckles, realizing his student has been onto him for quite some time now. Ji Yuchuan explains that his Dreamweaver ability never forgets an energy signature. He's been waiting for this reunion since the teacher arrived. Impressed, the teacher notes he's nothing like his parents, a comment that stops Ji Yuchuan in his tracks. He knew them? The old man dangles the truth as a reward for mastering the bond of contract, then orders him to summon his demons for a new test in training room B2. The scene cuts to a cold, sterile hallway, the entrance to what is surely another round of hellish training. Inside, a punk with spiky hair named Seagrism is waiting with his sentient demon weapon, Bella, who complains that tardy men are the absolute worst. Seagrism tells her to calm down, but a wicked grin spreads across his face as he grips his blade. He can finally sense his opponent's presence. His weapon pulses with dark energy as he stands ready for a brawl, calling out Ji Yuchuan's name. And just like that, the fight is on, with Seagrism lunging forward, his massive blade ready for the kill. With a crazed grin, he roars that it's time for him and Ji Yuchuan to finally settle this. But our boy is quicker, whipping out a chain of pure demonic energy to strike first. The chain smacks Seagrism right across the face, but the psycho just grits his teeth, completely unfazed. He gets blasted back by another attack but just laughs it off, mocking our boy for his weak opening moves. Ji Yuchuan is stunned, realizing his opponent's wounds are healing instantly. This must be the power of an undying demon. As their weapons clash, a voice in his head warns him this guy is tougher than he looks and offers to take control. Ji Yuchuan tells it to shut up, but Seagrism is already weaving golden threads of energy from his fingertips. The voice warns him not to underestimate this guy, who's clearly trying to keep his distance and play it safe. Seagrism scoffs at psychic types, channeling raw power into his fist for a devastating body enhancement technique. Seagrism lunges from above, screaming that our boy has nowhere to run and should just start begging for mercy. But Ji Yuchuan just smirks, completely unfazed by the incoming attack. In a shocking twist, it's revealed the golden threads were our boys all along, and he asks who's really trapped now. With Seagrism completely bound, Ji Yuchuan stands over him and declares his victory as the psycho rages helplessly. But something is off. As Seagrism mutters about killing, Chelsea realizes the Dreamweaver can now peek into his memories. The psycho completely snaps, his mind consumed with a single thought. He's going to kill Ji Yuchuan. We're suddenly dragged into his past, seeing a terrified younger Seagrism running from some unspeakable horror in the rain. The memory shows him battered and broken, crying that he doesn't want to die. Meanwhile, outside the training room, the old teacher is asked how the fight is going, and he calmly states it's already over. His colleague immediately assumes Seagrism won with his demon powers, but the teacher's grim no says it all. The researcher is left utterly dumbfounded, realizing that against all odds, Seagrism has lost. Inside, Bella frantically tries to wake her master, screaming that this is just a training exercise as he remains lost in his rage. The researcher warns the old teacher that Seagrism's mind will shatter, but he calmly stops her, explaining this is a necessary trial. He continues, stating that if Seagrism can't face his own past, hell never gets stronger. And besides, Ji Yuchuan's true talent is just beginning to awaken. Back inside the simulation, our boy sits calmly over the defeated psycho, his golden threads of power weaving through the room. With a flash of his golden eye, Ji Yuchuan realizes he's now fully immersed in the depths of Seagrism's memories. We're thrown into the past, where a much younger, blonde-haired Seagrism gets knocked flat on his back during training. A warrior from his tribe scolds him, saying he'll never be a great warrior if he keeps up this trash-tier performance. But his harsh words are followed by a warm invitation, telling the boy to come eat with his family after he's done. The young Seagrism, bruised but beaming, happily accepts, showing a glimpse of a life before he became a monster. We see his tribe, the Bone Village, who believed they were blessed warriors by birth, living a simple life. It was a place where the strong ruled, but family always came first, as a young Seagrism messes around with his brother. Their entire culture was built on a bond of blood and loyalty, a principle that sustained them for generations. But that peace was shattered when a monstrous demon descended, mocking the so-called legendary warriors as they charged to their deaths. The creature grins, its red eyes glowing with sadistic pleasure, thinking this slaughter is going to be fun. It effortlessly wipes them out, leaving a young Seagrism standing alone amidst the bodies of his people, whom the demon calls nothing but ants. He stumbles through the carnage, his world collapsing as he finds the lifeless body of his own mother. Paralyzed by fear, his only thought is to run, to escape being killed by this absolute monster standing right behind him. But as the demon looms over him, that terror instantly boils over into pure, unadulterated rage. His brother screams as the demon grabs him, and with a roar of fury, Seagrism charges forward with a tiny knife, ready to kill the bastard who took his family. But his tiny knife and childish rage are utterly meaningless against a creature of this caliber. His pathetic attack bounces off with a dull thud, doing absolutely nothing. The boy is sent flying, his face a mask of pure shock and disbelief. The demon just stands there, completely unfazed, as if it was just bothered by a fly. It grabs Seagrism by the hair, annoyed and wondering why these pathetic ants keep resisting their fate. Staring into the face of pure evil, the boy's mind is consumed by absolute terror. Tears of helplessness stream down his face as he realizes he's about to die just like everyone else. That buried trauma explodes in the present, and the adult Seagrism screams with a power he never had as a child. He channels all that rage and grief into a single, devastating attack, vowing to kill the one tormenting him. Suddenly, we're back in the dreamscape, where Ji Yuchuan is forced to block the full, unrestrained fury of Seagrism's past. Outside the dreamscape, Demon Queen Chelsea is told to get her contractor under control, but she flat out refuses. But Bella, Seagrism's weapon, isn't having it, screaming that this is all Ji Yuchuan's fault for digging into memories that Shudfei stayed buried. She even calls out Chelsea's trash-tier contract, leaving the Demon Queen utterly speechless. Back in the mental battlefield, Ji Yuchuan parries another ferocious, flame-wreathed strike from the enraged Seagrism. As Seagrism screams, Ji Yuchuan can feel it all: the guilt, the rage, the festering trauma of a lone survivor. The memories then shift, revealing a younger, broken Seagrism being offered a demonic contract by Bella herself. We see him later, a lone wanderer who survived against all odds, now being confronted by a mysterious figure. Turns out, it's Lu Yao, who recognizes him as the last of the Bone Tribe and makes him an offer to join her cause. But then the memory warps, showing Lu Yao presenting a different child, a boy with white hair whose eyes had been gouged out by his captors. The rescued boy, who looks exactly like a young Guzera, reaches out and introduces himself with Seagrism's name, deepening the mystery. And in that distorted memory, a younger Seagrism makes a vow to protect what's precious to him. He decides he'll become strong enough so that no one can ever take anything from him again. His name is Seagrism, and he'll become a demon himself if that's what it takes to gain that power. Back in the present, he's a battle-crazed maniac, laughing and telling our boy to come and finish this. Jiyu Chuan just scoffs at the battle-crazed maniac and swings his own blade to meet the challenge. Their weapons collide in a shower of sparks, Seagrism grinning like a psychopath through it all. The sheer force of the blow sends Jiyu Chuan flying backward, completely outmatched in raw strength. Realizing a head-on clash is a losing game, our boy sees his chance and calls out to Chelsea. Suddenly, glowing purple chains erupt from the ground, wrapping around a completely dumbfounded Seagrism. A colossal energy dragon manifests as Jiyu Chuan reveals his trump card. A higher demon can dominate a lower one. Bella, his living weapon, screams a warning as Seagrism realizes he's completely trapped by the overwhelming demonic pressure. With Chelsea's massive form coiled around the pair, Jiyu Chuan coldly declares that this is the end of the line. But just as he's about to land the final blow, their old teacher and Ba Yin appear, announcing the match is over and our boy is the winner. Back in her tiny dragon form, Chelsea complains that all her effort was for nothing since no contract bond was formed. Jiyu Chuan, however, seems completely unfazed, his gaze as cold and unreadable as ever. Meanwhile, Bella chews Seagrism out for being a reckless wretch, asking if he's finally satisfied with this outcome. He just tells her to go back into the weapon, calmly admitting that he has lost this fight. Seagrism then clarifies that while he still hates our boy, his true target was never him to begin with. He clenches his fist, revealing his actions are driven by the immense guilt of running from his tribe out of fear, and he makes a solemn vow to make the demon who destroyed his home and took his loved ones pay for everything. To Seagrism's utter shock, our boy offers to help him hunt down the demon responsible. Jiyu Chuan extends a hand, telling him to prove he isn't weak and that the spirit of his tribe is still alive. For a moment, Seagrism hesitates, dumbfounded by this sudden truce from the man he just tried to kill. But seeing the sincerity, he grasps Jiyu Chuan's hand, sealing their new, blood-soaked pact. The scene shifts to a grim, gothic castle under a full moon, a place where nightmares are born. Inside, a terrified agent crawls through a pool of corpses, desperately sending a report about a predator and a demon. Before he can finish his message, a foot slams down, crushing his arm and his last hope for backup. A shadowy figure with long white hair looms over him, mockingly asking if he's the leader of this little intrusion. The demon taunts the helpless agent, telling him to consider it an honor to see his face as the last thing he'll ever witness. With a final, choked plea for help, the agent's body dissolves into purple energy, his existence erased. Back in his own mind, Jiyu Chuan sees the face of the fallen agent, now merged with Chelsea's demonic form, vowing that it's time to settle the score. Our boy snaps awake in bed, the remnants of the strange dream still clinging to him. Turns out, he's not alone. Demon Queen Chelsea has transformed into her humanoid form in her sleep again, much to his eternal exhaustion. But his rest is cut short as he senses a faint demonic aura lurking just outside his room. Without even getting up, he casually flicks his wrist, sending out a thread of his golden Dreamweaver energy to investigate. The energy instantly snares a shadowy presence, and he hears a yelp of surprise as someone realizes their shadow's been caught. Jiyu Chuan sighs, sitting up and demanding to know why two idiots are lurking outside his door. The door flies open as Xiana and the gluttonous demon boy burst in with party poppers, yelling surprise at a completely unimpressed Jiyu Chuan. Xiana explains that Lu Yao organized a celebration banquet for their success, urging him to come before Seagrism eats everything. Suddenly, Chelsea pops up behind him with a manic grin, her only concern being whether they have that awesome canned meat. The team arrives at a seriously high-class banquet hall, a far cry from the hellscapes they're used to. Guzera is already digging in, remarking how nice it is to eat human food instead of predator meat for a change. Elsewhere, team leader Lu Yao is finally letting loose with a few drinks, while Xiana tries to track her down. Suddenly, a drink slams onto the bar as someone calls out for Jiyu Chuan. Turns out, our boy is getting an earful from a completely wasted Seagrism, with Ba Yin watching on in amusement. The drunkard gets emotional, admitting he used to think Jiyu Chuan was a phony but now sees him as a true warrior for saving him. Jiyu Chuan just sips his drink, completely unfazed, as Ba Yin chuckles at Seagrism's wobbly state. Our boy then turns to Ba Yin, asking why he isn't drinking, only to learn that the guy is more of a milk person. With a deadpan expression, Jiyu Chuan decides that just milk won't cut it for a celebration. He then proceeds to pour the milk right into Ba Yin's glass, making Seagrism roar with laughter while Ba Yin absolutely loses his mind. Jiyu Chuan just smirks, insisting that a little milk makes the booze smoother while Ba Yin completely loses his cool. Elsewhere, Bella frets over her drunken master, but Chelsea seems more concerned about who's manning the grill. Looking a little tipsy herself, Chelsea confidently reassures everyone that she's got the cooking under control. At the same time, a wasted Lu Yao boasts about her own cooking skills as Xiana desperately tries to cut her off. The two chaotic scenes collide when Lu Yao tries to salt the meat with beer, making Chelsea scream as her food gets ruined. She keeps pouring, completely oblivious to Chelsea's panicked cries to stop as the grill gets doused. The night just gets wilder as the drunken party continues under the moonlight. Miraculously, Chelsea manages to salvage a small plate of food and brings it inside, looking utterly exhausted. Her relief turns to horror when she stumbles upon Ji Yuchuan's body on the floor, thinking he's dead until he groggily corrects her. She just stares down at our boy, a mix of annoyance and relief washing over her as she calls out his name. Chelsea teases our boy for passing out, but he just grumbles that it's been a while since he drank. She warns him that making a contract with a fragile human better not be a mistake, while he wonders when their bond will actually form. His mind flashes back to a critical moment. Chelsea reveals that when they were caught in that demonic energy before, she heard voices in her head. He remembers it too, a chaotic psychic assault where his only focus was purging the invasive thoughts from his mind. She scoffs, asking if getting wasted is his weird way of apologizing, but he just says he's thinking. He's been pondering the first requirement for a contract bond, questioning if something like that could ever truly exist between them. His words trigger a reaction, and glowing runes suddenly appear on Chelsea's horn. She's about to respond to this profound moment, completely caught off guard. But our boy just looks past her and drunkenly calls out for Lu Yao, leaving Chelsea utterly dumbfounded. Ji Yuchuan turns to a panicked Xiana, asking what's wrong as she mutters that she told their boss to stop drinking. Turns out Lu Yao is absolutely hammered, her spatial powers glitching as she drunkenly offers everyone grilled meat. Just as the chaos peaks, her assistant bursts in yelling that they have an emergency. The bad news hits hard. Someone has attacked the Heaven's Wrath base. Meanwhile, in a cold, dark facility, a creature sobs from within a shattered containment cell. A man named Mordak reaches for the timid, flower-headed demon, confirming he is the captain she was waiting for. The demon, Asha, is stunned he knows her name and nervously asks what a timid creature like her could possibly do for him. Mordak just smirks, telling her that once she's on his side, humans will be the ones cowering in fear. Back in the present, a now suited-up Mordak walks through the breached facility, asking for a report on the intruder. The team learns the gate wasn't hacked but opened in safe mode, leaving Lu Yao to wonder if this was an inside job. An agent frantically reports they've located the intruder and it's one of their own, a Heaven's Wrath squad captain. The team is dumbfounded. Seagrism can't believe a traitor got through their rigorous vetting process. Absolutely livid, Seagrism declares he's going to rip the bastard limb from limb, but the others hold him back. Meanwhile, Ji Yuchuan and Lu Yao arrive at the scene, our boy already deep in thought about the situation. He then poses a chilling theory to Lu Yao. What if the intruder isn't just a traitor, but the demon itself? The team walks through the trashed demon incubation chambers, the scale of the destruction hitting them hard. Ba Yin and another researcher are baffled, realizing the containment units, sealed by the president himself, were shattered with ease. Perched on his shoulder, Chelsea warns Ji Yuchuan that she senses a familiar and terrifyingly powerful aura. The gluttonous demon boy points towards their destination, the vault, where the truly powerful, sealed-rank demons are kept. As they approach, a blinding white light emanates from a massive open doorway, promising a hell of a fight. Stepping inside, Ba Yin and the pink-haired researcher are completely dumbfounded by the sight before them. The vault is a graveyard. High-ranking espers are strung up like marionettes, utterly defeated. The researcher is furious, declaring that this monstrous act cannot go unpunished. Just then, Ji Yuchuan and the gluttonous demon boy arrive, spotting their comrades in the chaos. Turns out, even the hot-headed Seagrism has been taken down, tangled in a web of dark purple energy. He's barely conscious, his power weakening as he desperately tries to break free from the restraints. The gluttonous demon boy roars to help his brother, but Ji Yuchuan yells at him not to release his demon. It's too late. The moment he steps forward, the same shadowy tendrils erupt and ensnare him as well. Lu Yao is stunned, realizing the intruder left behind potent traps specifically designed to subdue demons. Our boy Ji Yuchuan, however, senses some residual mental energy, thinking he might be able to salvage a clue from this mess. As Ji Yuchuan focuses, his little dragon partner Chelsea warns him that the skull floating in the blood feels seriously off. Our boy agrees, sensing a sinister power lurking within the bone. Suddenly, the skull's eye socket flashes with purple light, and it shatters into pieces. The captured gluttonous demon boy feels a jolt as the dark energy resonates with his own. Nearby, The researchers watch in horror as Seagrism finally collapses from his wounds, bleeding out on the floor. The shattered skull's energy coalesces into a ghostly purple projection, and Ji Yuchuan calmly greets the apparition. The skeletal figure addresses the entire room, smugly calling its message a piece of combat elegance. It then drops an absolute bombshell. Its master will launch a full-scale assault on the city at dawn tomorrow. Seagrism and the others are left completely dumbfounded, unable to process the threat. Even Lu Yao is frozen in shock, realizing they have mere hours before their city is purged. The purple skull then offers a twisted alternative. The assault will be postponed if Chelsea agrees to meet its master at a place called Lost Paradise. Ji Yuchuan turns to Chelsea, who admits she feels a strange familiarity with the enemy's attacks, and warns that their entire squad would be no match for him. Our boy is taken aback. It's rare to see the Demon Queen so serious, which means this threat is the real deal. Meanwhile, Lu Yao has had enough of this trash talk, and orders Xiana to shut the projection down immediately. With a swift slice of her shadow power, Xiana cuts the ghostly messenger off mid-sentence, shattering the purple energy. Lu Yao doesn't waste a second, issuing a citywide level 1 alert and authorizing lethal force, even greenlighting the use of their ultimate Heaven's Wrath weaponry. Her team is stunned by the extreme order, questioning if they're really going to war over what might be just one demon. But Lu Yao is resolute, reminding them that their strongest agents barely survived this guy's traps, and that he now controls the cowardly demon, a terrifying wildcard. Back with our crew, Guzera asks Ji Yuchuan if there's another option, completely lost on what to do next. Ji Yuchuan just smirks, revealing his insane plan. He's actually considering sending Chelsea to the rendezvous. The team immediately freaks out, with Seagrism and Ba Yin arguing that it's a blatant trap and they can't just sacrifice one of their own. Lu Yao and the others are cut from the same cloth, pointing out the enemy is clearly trying to force their hand to get Chelsea. But our boy Ji Yuchuan, with a quiet Chelsea on his shoulder, just tells everyone to stop debating. His mind is already made up. He confirms their worst fears, announcing that he and Chelsea have decided to go to the meeting point and walk right into the lion's den. His entire crew is left completely dumbfounded, unable to believe he's actually considering such a reckless, trash-tier plan. Ji Yuchuan begins to walk away, telling them to stay calm because this is his and Chelsea's fight, and they were just dragged into it. Seagrism isn't having any of that nonsense, roaring that there's no way in hell he's letting our boy go face this threat alone. Just then, Lu Yao's earpiece crackles to life with an urgent incoming transmission. A powerful voice on the other end, who she calls the President, demands to know where Ji Yuchuan is, and orders her to bring him back immediately. Lu Yao is stunned into silence as the President drops a bombshell. Ji Yuchuan is the very person they've been looking for all along. The scene cuts to the Santenberg Alliance President's office, where a serious meeting is underway. The President grills Lu Yao, questioning how she, of all people, could let Ji Yuchuan walk into this mess alone. Lu Yao tries to take the blame but shifts focus to the intruder, but the President cuts her off, saying he's already been briefed. He mentions that their ultimate weapon, Heaven's Wrath, is off the table, then reveals he called her for a far more critical reason. The President pulls up the latest research from the doctor, leaving Lu Yao completely speechless. It's a DNA comparison showing that our boy Ji Yuchuan is genetically closer to the first predators than to humans. Lu Yao is in total disbelief, arguing that the predators appeared decades ago when Ji Yuchuan was just a baby. But the President shuts her down, stating the research is solid, and cryptically hoping Ji Yuchuan can bring hope to the world. A horrifying thought suddenly strikes Lu Yao, as she realizes the intruder might be after Ji Yuchuan specifically. The President confirms her fears, noting that, while the research was top secret, she's always had her own suspicions about Chelsea's true origins. The President hands Lu Yao a last resort weapon, warning her to use it if Chelsea ever becomes a threat to Ji Yuchuan. Lu Yao is stunned as she examines the glowing purple crystal in her hand. Turns out, it's the newly tested space-time demonic hammer, a monster of a weapon capable of severing a demonic contract. The President explains that even if our boy hasn't mastered his bond, this one-time use item is their only insurance policy. He places a hand on her shoulder, telling her to be careful and that he trusts her completely. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he reminds her that while her mother's dying wish was important, she, his daughter, is far more so. The scene shifts to a massive Gothic castle in the Westlands, surrounded by a sea of roses under a full moon. Ji Yuchuan and Chelsea stand amidst a web of golden energy, with her questioning if his plan is just to exhaust himself for a duel. He calmly explains that it's better than walking into a trap, since their arrogant foe vowed to slaughter the city by dawn. Chelsea silently admits his mental energy is remarkable, but a gut feeling tells her that she's missing something crucial about their enemy's plan. He reassures Chelsea he won't be reckless, as he still has to help her regain her memories and power. But in the next second, his eye widens in shock as the trap is sprung. Our boy suddenly collapses, warning Chelsea to be careful of her surroundings. He grits his teeth, realizing his mental energy is under a direct and powerful assault. Before Chelsea can even react, a grotesque, zombie-like creature lurches out from the roses behind her. The Demon Queen doesn't hesitate, instantly blasting the minion with her signature purple chains. A massive explosion of demonic energy erupts, a strike that should have obliterated any normal foe. But the zombie just stumbles back, growling as if it barely felt a thing. Chelsea is dumbfounded. An attack like that should have vaporized the creature, making her question if she's gotten weaker. Then it clicks, no, that's not it at all. Something is fundamentally wrong with this entire space. As Jiyu Chuan lies paralyzed, Chelsea admits that for the first time, she's actually starting to feel scared. The entire mental landscape is a twisted Gothic castle, a prison designed to break their minds. Inside, the true culprits are revealed. A plant-like demon named Osha asks her master if it's okay to kill. Her master, Mordak, reassures her, calling her a slightly unusual human to stroke her ego. Asha falls for it completely, vowing to become a good human for him, while Mordak just smirks. He thinks to himself that with Osha's powerful and murderous nature, she's the perfect tool for his plan. Mordak grins sadistically, realizing she's exactly what he needs to finally defeat Chelsea and our boy. Back outside, Chelsea finds herself surrounded by a whole horde of those trash-tier zombies. An overwhelming sense of fear washes over her, a psychic pressure so intense it's making her sick. She lashes out with her chains, tearing through the minions, but it feels like fighting an endless tide. Our boy realizes Chelsea's power is fading fast, and he suspects some cowardly demon is behind the fear aura he's somehow immune to. He warns her that fighting these zombies is just making her weaker, and she admits she's being affected by something sinister. Suddenly, the ground rumbles violently, and the two of them brace for whatever is coming next. A whole damn Gothic castle erupts from the ground, its spires tearing through the sky like a nightmare made real. As purple energy coalesces, Jiyu Chuan recognizes the demonic power signature, but it's far stronger than he expected. A colossal skeletal demon lord fully materializes, greeting Chelsea with a bone-chilling taunt about how weak she's become. The demon scoffs at her, calling her pathetic for forming a contract with a lowly human like our boy. Done with the trash talk, the skeletal lord brings its massive fist crashing down, blasting them both backwards. Jiyu Chuan scrambles to her side, asking if she's hurt, but the proud demon queen just snaps back at him for asking the obvious. Knowing she's in no state to fight, Chelsea tells him she's counting on him, and he accepts the burden without hesitation. The skeletal lord mocks our boy, asking if he seriously thinks he can hide from a being of his power. To prove his point, he summons a horde of trash-tier zombie minions that claw their way out of the ground. The undead swarm forward, but Jiyu Chuan meets them head-on, his spear flashing with purple energy. He scoffs at the very idea of hiding, carving a bloody path through the cannon fodder with a wide, sweeping attack. With a crazed grin, he admits that this hopeless situation is actually getting him excited beyond belief. The demon lord is completely dumbfounded, unable to process how this mere human is shredding his army. Jiyu Chuan charges straight for the big boss, screaming that killing him is the only way to get closer to the truth. With a final, devastating strike, he completely shatters the demon lord's physical form into 1,000 pieces. But it's not over. The shattered fragments of bone and dark energy begin to swirl and coalesce in midair. The pieces reform into a volley of deadly projectiles aimed right at him, as Chelsea screams a desperate warning. Our boy reacts in a flash, throwing up a golden shield to block the deadly bone fragments. But something is terribly wrong. He feels his speed suddenly grind to a halt. Turns out, this was the demon lord's trump card, an ability that slows the very fabric of space-time around its victim. The demon's giant skull reforms, mocking this dull performance and demanding Chelsea come out to be crushed for real. With a deafening crash, the massive skull slams down, intent on obliterating Jiyu Chuan completely. But as the dust settles, a new figure, the plant demon, Osha, is congratulated for a job well done. The mastermind reveals himself to be the high-ranking demon Mordak, who was orchestrating this entire beatdown from the shadows. With a smug grin, he taunts the absent Chelsea, hoping she's enjoying the little surprise he's prepared. Just then, Lu Yao and her squad arrive on the scene, absolutely dumbfounded by the sheer scale of the battle. They stare at the apocalyptic wasteland, wondering how in the world Jiyu Chuan and his demon could have caused all this. Seagrism insists our boy is too tough to go down easily, reminding everyone that Jiyu Chuan once defeated him. Lu Yao cuts the chatter short, ordering her squad to spread out and begin the search immediately. She splits the team, sending Seagrism and Guzera one way while she takes the others, their top priority being to find Jiyu Chuan. Meanwhile, in some dark, unknown space, our boy and Chelsea have been teleported away from the battle. Chelsea wonders if they've been dragged into another dimension, and Ji Yuchuan agrees, sensing nothing but the two of them. A mysterious voice suddenly cuts in, telling them not to sound so lonely because it makes him sad, leaving Chelsea completely stunned. The voice reveals it's been watching them for a while, noting how pathetic and weak Chelsea has become. The traitor is revealed to be none other than Guzera, who transforms into his true victory demon form and mocks Chelsea for not recognizing him. With a wicked grin, Guzera unleashes his power, summoning a wave of screaming purple souls from his staff. Ji Yuchuan reacts in a flash, throwing up a golden barrier to shield them from the devastating attack. Ji Yuchuan steps in front of Chelsea, telling her she's far too weak right now and hell handle this. But the traitor, Guzera, just scoffs, questioning if a mere human actually dares to challenge him. Suddenly, Chelsea's eyes widen in horror as she recognizes the banner. It's him, the infamous victory demon, Mordak. Mordak grins, pleased that she finally remembers him, and channels a storm of purple lightning into his spear. He thrusts his weapon forward, but it smashes against Ji Yuchuan's golden barrier in a blinding explosion. Our boy quickly checks on Chelsea, who insists she's fine despite the overwhelming power they just faced. Floating above, Mordak mocks them, asking if dodging is the only pathetic trick they have left. He sneers, comparing them to insects as he unleashes another torrent of chaotic energy. Ji Yuchuan expertly weaves through the barrage, deploying multiple defensive shields to parry the attacks. But Mordak instantly appears before him, cutting off his escape and asking where he thinks he's going. Ji Yuchuan throws up a golden barrier, barely holding back Mordak's devastating purple energy blast. Seeing an opening, our boy yells for Chelsea to act now, and she immediately unleashes her binding chains. But Mordak just scoffs, completely unfazed as the chains wrap around him, asking if they really think this trash-tier move can stop him. Ji Yuchuan notices something strange. The numbers on Mordak's weapon are changing, and he suspects it's somehow related to the damage. Suddenly, they're both bleeding, and Chelsea is dumbfounded, asking how they got hurt when Ji Yuchuan knows he blocked the attack perfectly. Mordak just smirks, telling them he knew from the start that this fight was destined to end in their defeat. He unleashes a storm of energy blades, taunting the former #1 demon not to lose too disgracefully. The attack slams into them, and as Ji Yuchuan coughs up blood, a furious Chelsea calls him a bastard. Fueled by rage, she roars that former or not, she still has more than enough power to crush him. Mordak just laughs maniacally as the number on his banner changes to 8, sadistically wondering how long it will take for Chelsea to finally break. Chelsea is dumbfounded as she gets hit yet again, realizing her own power is being used against her. She warns Ji Yuchuan that the entire space is reflecting their attacks, and our boy confirms it, adding that Mordak is getting stronger with every tick of that cursed weapon. Ji Yuchuan decides they have to stop attacking blindly and figure out this spatial trap, but Mordak's voice just echoes with amusement. The demon appears right behind him in a flash, mockingly congratulating him for finally figuring out his little secret. Before Ji Yuchuan can even process it, Mordak's weapon tears straight through his back in a brutal, bloody strike. Chelsea can only watch in horror, her mind going blank as she sees her familiar get impaled. She lets out a desperate scream as Ji Yuchuan's body goes limp, collapsing towards the ground. Catching him, she furiously tells him he's forbidden from dying, refusing to be stuck with a corpse for a familiar. With our boy bleeding out in her arms, Chelsea begins to channel a massive, complex magic circle as a last resort. Mordak just smirks, his banner now displaying the number 9, and declares that their struggle is futile. One more blow, and it's all over. Just as Mordak swings his staff for the killing blow, a terrifying new power erupts behind him. He's completely stunned, realizing in an instant that Chelsea has somehow regained her true, monstrous aura. The space around him shatters, revealing the true Demon Queen in all her glory, looking down on him from her throne. Her signature purple chains immediately lash out, completely overwhelming his defenses with ease. In just a single moment, the demon's mask cracks under the sheer force of her attack, leaving him dumbfounded. The real Chelsea emerges, cradling our boy and scoffing that Mordak was fighting a mere replica, furious at his disrespect. Holding the wounded Ji Yuchuan, she can't help but wonder why this human's blood resonates so strongly with her own power. Elsewhere, the last of the skeletal minions are completely annihilated by another force. Lu Yao's team finally arrives on the scene, but Ba Yin notes with concern that he can't get in contact with Sigrism or Guzera. His worry is immediately validated as a massive explosion erupts right in front of them, catching him completely off guard. From the blast emerges a massive hole in the cathedral's ceiling, debris and dust raining down on the battlefield. Turns out, another team was already on site. Their archer senses a new threat approaching and readies her bow, but they're too slow, and a colossal blade attack nearly atomizes them, forcing their leader to throw up a desperate energy shield. The attacker is none other than Seagrism, completely covered in blood, and screaming like a madman that he just killed Guzera. But as he grips his sword, a sliver of doubt creeps in. He starts questioning if that's what really happened. The horrific truth hits him like a truck. He remembers killing the slaughter demon, not his comrade, and his mind begins to shatter. Lu Yao's team finally finds him, but he's a rambling mess, unable to explain what's going on or who he actually killed. Lu Yao and Ba Yin exchange a grim look, realizing this is far worse than simple battle fatigue. He's been played. Ba Yin grabs the hysterical Seagrism, using his own energy to try and stabilize him, urging him to remember the details of the enemy's trick. It's no use. Our boy is completely broken, stammering and sweating, the traumatic illusion having done its job perfectly. He finally manages to explain that when he and Guzera arrived, the place was empty except for a foul, sweet smell in the air. And then, his face contorts in horror as the memory plays back in his mind. He saw him a shadowy figure he calls the Slaughter Demon, lurking in the rain-soaked garden. Seagrism recalls his inner conflict. He felt he had his powers under control, but some instinct screamed at him to back down. In the heat of the moment, he ignored it and attacked, and when the dust settled, he was covered in blood. The gut-wrenching truth hits him again. He saw his own sword plunge deep into Guzera's chest, but Ba Yin calmly explains that it was likely an illusion, as they've searched the entire castle and found nothing matching his description. He then gives our boy a sliver of hope, revealing Guzera's signal was lost but hasn't disappeared, meaning he might still be alive. With new resolve, Lu Yao takes charge, ordering Xiana and Seagrism to find Guzera, while she and Ba Yin continue the search for Jiyu Chuan. Their new mission takes them deeper into the castle, towards a grand, empty hall bathed in eerie light. Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, Jiyu Chuan's eyes snap open. He's completely dumbfounded, realizing the fatal wound that should have killed him has completely vanished. Before he can even process this miracle, glowing purple chains erupt from nowhere and bind him tight. And who should appear but the demon queen Chelsea, who scoffs at the audacity of a mere human questioning her. She grabs his chin, forcing him to look at her as she demands answers. Chelsea needs to know who he truly is, and why his blood has the bizarre effect of enhancing demonic power. Our boy just smirks, telling her that he's just as much in the dark about his own nature as she is. A slow, dangerous smile spreads across Chelsea's face as she realizes she no longer needs to hunt the other ranked demons. She whispers that perhaps by draining him dry, she can reclaim all her power and lost memories. Jiyu Chuan tries to play it cool, insisting she wouldn't do that. But the sweat on his brow tells a different story. Chelsea asks if he really trusts her that much, but our boy clarifies it's not the rank 1 demon he trusts. He explains his faith is in the Chelsea who forged a contract with him, the one he considers a comrade. His words hit their mark, and the purple chains binding him instantly shatter and whip away. Suddenly, Chelsea cries out in shock as she feels her own power rapidly fading from her body. Jiyu Chuan smirks, realizing the power-up from his blood was temporary, and teases that he prefers her this way. She gets annoyed and lunges for him, demanding more blood, but he gently stops her as a strange energy glows between them. He watches the glowing patterns on their hands, realizing this must be the true bond of their contract finally forming. With their pact solidified, he notes they still haven't found Mordak's true form, leaving Chelsea speechless. They then notice the sunrise, realizing with a grim certainty that they've been played and trapped in this illusion all night. At that exact moment, Mordak collapses in agony as his grand illusion finally begins to crumble. As the illusion shatters, a weakened Mordak reassures his subordinate Osha that he's all right, though he's clearly shaken. He clutches his throat, realizing with dread that Chelsea's power surge was real, making him question if Jiyu Chuan played him for a fool. Meanwhile, in a grotesque, slime-covered cathedral, Lu Yao and Ba Yin have finally tracked down Mordak's real-world hideout. Ba Yin's hexagonal shield easily deflects the disgusting goo as they approach their target's nest. With a grim look, Lu Yao pulls the pin on a special containment grenade, ready to flush the demon out. She hurls the device with all her might, aiming it directly at the heart of the corruption. The grenade detonates, unleashing a massive cloud of purifying gas that fills the entire chamber. Through the swirling mist, a lone, shadowy red figure is revealed, its cover completely blown. Lu Yao wastes no time, shouting for Ba Yin to get ready for a fight now that their real enemy is exposed. But before they can even make a move, a vicious slash of purple energy rips through the gas. Ba Yin screams for his boss to get down, throwing up a defensive barrier in the nick of time. The psychic blast slams into his shield, erupting in a blinding explosion of power. Coughing, Lu Yao tries to get her bearings, the air thick with smoke and residual energy. From the shadows, Mordak emerges in a new, monstrous form, wondering what kind of psychic power is this intense. But Ba Yin recognizes that energy signature anywhere he realizes with a shock that it's none other than Ji Yuchuan. And right on cue, our boy strolls out of the smoke, a terrifying demonic aura flaring behind him like a god of death. He just smirks at the chaos, looking completely unimpressed by the whole situation. With a casual flick of his scythe, he asks if their welcome had to be quite so explosive. Ji Yuchuan is silently impressed, realizing Ba Yin was hiding his true strength, while also feeling his own power surge from his new contract. Ba Yin adjusts his glasses, noting that not only did our boy master the contract, but he also possesses demonic power, just as their informant warned. Ji Yuchuan casually explains that the Mordak they just fought was nothing but a clone, and the real deal is nowhere to be found. Lu Yao is dumbfounded, unable to process that the infamous 9th-ranked demon Mordak actually showed up here. Our boy continues, deducing that a victory demon like him wouldn't send a mere clone without a much bigger, more sinister plan in motion. The gears in Lu Yao's head start turning as she pieces together the clone's appearance with a potential battle plan. It all clicks in a moment of horror. She realizes Santenberg must be the real target and immediately rips open a spatial gate, but her portal shatters into a million crystalline shards. She's horrified to find her Esper abilities have been completely sealed off. Meanwhile, Ji Yuchuan has already found the culprit, calmly pointing out that a strange substance on the wall is blocking their powers. Touching the slimy wall, our boy calmly deduces the horrifying truth. They're trapped inside a creature's stomach. Meanwhile, Mordak is seen scrambling away from a pool of the same disgusting green goop. Turns out, he was just spat out by his own familiar, a colossal worm-like beast named Lost. Mordak is absolutely livid, insulted that his own creation would spit him out for tasting bad. But then it hits him, the entire castle is the familiar's transformed body, and his allies are still trapped inside. He unleashes his own demonic power, lashing out at the giant beast with corrosive tendrils. Frustratingly, his external attacks are useless. He realizes the only way to win is if someone attacks it from within. As if on cue, the familiar lets out a blood-curdling scream as purple chains burst out from its throat. Mordak is left completely dumbfounded, wondering who the hell is inside his pet causing all this chaos. Suddenly, the familiar's body rips open, spitting out Seagrism and his pink-haired colleague. The pink-haired demon is just relieved to see Mordak alive, congratulating him on a job well done. Mordak, covered in slime, goes for a dramatic reunion hug, but she shoves him away, telling him he stinks. She thanks him, explaining that if it weren't for him, she and Seagrism would still be trapped in an illusion. Mordak is completely lost, asking if they were the ones who attacked the beast from the inside. She shakes her head, revealing the true hero of the hour was none other than Ji Yuchuan. Turns out, our boy knew the creature's guts were its weak point and waited for the perfect moment to strike, forcing it to vomit everyone out. Seagrism just laughs, proud of his rival's big brain play, as his sentient weapon Bella appears to clean him up. But Ji Yuchuan cuts the celebration short, reminding them that Mordak is still out there, and his little demon queen is ready to tear him to shreds. Meanwhile, in a desolate wasteland, the plant demon Osha seems to be having second thoughts about their plan. But a mysterious, elf-like demon lord reassures her, telling her she's absolutely doing the right thing. With a sinister smile, he reveals his true goal: to transform this entire area into a paradise for demons. The scene cuts to a shadowy figure, who smugly thinks that his messenger should have already delivered his twisted proposal. The demon lord then lays out the sick ultimatum he's given the humans. Will they sacrifice themselves, or will they sacrifice these poor souls? He then unleashes his pawns, a massive horde of zombie-like civilians, marching toward their doom. As the horde approaches a massive city wall, the lookouts spot the incoming disaster and immediately raise the alarm. The city's guards scramble into position, completely baffled by the sight of a civilian army at their gates. The crowd erupts, screaming to be let inside, demanding freedom and equality, all while being used as cannon fodder.